Teray, you ready? You ready? Mel, you ready?
Testing. Testing,
right.
testing.
Yes, I'm ready.
Is mine on?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay.
Good evening. Am I on? Okay. Good evening. I would like to call the Flint Board of Education Committee of the Whole meeting to order at 6:32 p.m. Board members, as I call your name, please reply present for the record. Treasurer Luna.
Present.
Trustee Rutherford.
Here.
Trustee King.
Present.
Vice President McNeil. Assistant Secretary Treasurer McIntyre. Secretary Perkins. Myself, President Clegg, I am present. Okay. The board will now hear comments from the public. We ask that you state the reason for addressing the board and that you limit your remarks to 3 minutes on matters within the authority of the board and not address individuals by name. Thank you. The presiding officer of the board shall have the right to limit the number of persons who may address the board on the same subject. Please state your name and address first before beginning to speak. Okay. First, we've got Josh Petrick. Mr. Petrick.
Good evening. My name is Josh Petrick. I am at 3161 West Coldwater Road in Mount Morris, Michigan. I have been associated with Flint schools for my entire life. I am a second-generation Flint school teacher. I graduated from Summersfield Elementary, Whittier Middle School, and Flint Central High School. Unlike Bruce, who is associated with that little northern place over there. Flint schools gave me a first-rate education. As we all know, things kind of went downhill since '97, but there are many who have been fighting to bring Flint back up to the glories we once held. Several members are on the retirement list this evening that these names are synonymous with that idea. 5 years ago, Southwestern could have been described as Eastside High, but look at us now. The NWEA numbers show unprecedented growth. That is because we have a staff and administrators that have been working hard to give our students what is best. The numbers also indicate that there is a ginormous learning gap. My freshmen always come into my classroom with a 4th grade math level, according to the NWEA scores. How am I supposed to lead the students to mastery when many of them cannot perform the basic 4 operations? There is a correlation argument that can be made between those scores and appropriate staffing of educators for our students. We cannot expect students to fill the learning gaps if we are not appropriately giving students the tools they need to succeed. Having the appropriate human resources is one of the major tools that our students need and have been denied. They are being set up for failure. They have not been given consistent education, consistent character building, consistent responsibility coaching. Let's just pass them because there was not a teacher in the classroom. We can't succeed without consistent and appropriate educators and administrators. But there is some good news. I saved a lot of money on my car insurance by switching to Geico. But the good news is that this is an issue that we can correct. We can close buildings which waste money. We can condense schools which will eliminate open and vacant classrooms so that we can give students appropriate human capital. We can make decisions which will allow us to hire and develop appropriate educators and administrators for our stakeholders, Flint students. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Petrie. Next is Bruce Jordan.
It's a little high school rivalry. Bruce Jordan, I represent the United Teachers of Flint. My office is at 5095 Exchange Drive, Flint, Michigan. You all received the open letter that I sent to all the board members, all the teaching staff, and a couple of news outlets. That was not to necessarily point a finger, but to implore you to focus, to implore you to act. The consolidation of schools, the recruitment and retention of staff is really, really important. The demolition, I encourage you to continue with the demolition of Washington. I encourage you to unload properties, offload properties, sell them off to people that will turn them into some sort of community center. I believe Zimmerman has a pretty good bid on it right now. This is not generational wealth, this is blight. We need to be good neighbors. We need to be good employers. And honestly, you need to be a good board. The time is now. The crisis is now. We can't survive much longer. We need you to act. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Felicia Neymark, Ms. Neymark, I hope I'm not butchering your name.
Good evening, Board. My name is Felicia Neymark, and I am an in-person direct hire speech-language pathologist at Durant-Turimont, and I reside in Clio. I'm about to conclude my 7th year with the district and my 33rd as a public school speech-language pathologist. The reason I specify I am a direct hire and in-person is because we currently only have 3.5 in-person position, speech-language pathologist positions filled with a half-time person doing only evaluations and hired through a third-party company. The other 8 speech pathologists we currently have are all third-party virtual providers living either out of state or in Michigan, but not close enough or willing to come here in person. And they make 1.5 to twice as much as we do in person. At full capacity, we should, in the district, have 13 to 14 SLPs because in addition to our students at the district's 11 buildings, we also provide services to the outlying preschools, such as Educare, Summerfield, Cummings, Van Wy, and a few others, as well as to the local parochial schools. We are short-staffed, and currently, Potter's K-6 students, DTM's 2 rooms of self-contained special education students, and any new students to DTM who have come in with speech services, as well as some of our outlying preschoolers, are not getting their speech services per their IEPs. There may be others in the same situation that I am not aware of. Many of our other LSS ancillary staff, school psychologists and LSS social workers, for example, are third-party virtual hires. We have 4 in-person psychs and 3 to 4 in-person LSS social workers. I don't know about the other buildings, but we have not had any general education, MTSS, multi-tiered system of support social workers at DTM for 1.5 years. This means if a student has a crisis, there may not be anyone available in person to deal with their needs. Even if we could get a hold of our virtual social worker, he is servicing 2 other buildings, so may not be able to see the student at that time. And our in-person LSS social worker is overworked and overwhelmed trying to cover her assigned students and doing evaluations as needed. We even have virtual LSS resource room teachers. I don't know about the other buildings, but ours just began a few weeks ago, and it does not appear to be going well. I have to say, with all of this considered, DTM is rare compared to the other buildings, and that we do have actual in-person people in almost all of these ancillary positions for at least a portion of the students. The services at some buildings are all virtual providers for these services. In the post-COVID climate, fewer people want to come into the schools in person. They, as stated before, work through third-party companies. They have to have a facilitator or a monitor come get the students and stay with them while they get their services. And many of them have less years of service. I wish there was a magic wand we could wave to make people want to come work in Flint. I love working with my students in person. Unfortunately, not everyone is willing to do that. Virtual is plugging a hole in the sinking boat, but it is
Thank you,
not
Mrs.
what is best for our students. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Thank you, Mrs. Neymark. Next, we have Ms. Lisa Squire. Ms. Squire, okay.
My name's Lisa Squire, and I'm here with Eastside Franklin Park Neighborhood Association. I first moved over in our neighborhood 8 years ago. We were looking at ways to improve the neighborhood, to bring the neighborhood back up to what it should be, a community as opposed to just one more block. At that time, Washington Elementary was abandoned and overgrown and unkempt and frankly dangerous. We expressed interest and tried to find out a number of times how to acquire the school so that we could use it as part of our plans to bring the neighborhood up, community projects and things like that. Not only were we not able to find out in time, but it ended up being set on fire multiple times. This last time has left it, and I'm sure you guys have seen the pictures already, but it has left it a hulking Jenga game of bricks and mortar just waiting to topple over. That's bad enough. But the city's idea of keeping people safe from that thing is to put up a few pieces of yellow caution tape. Now, us adults, we're smart enough that if we see that caution tape and we see this disaster waiting to happen, to stay away from it. It concerns me because there are homeless people in the area and semi-professional, non-professional people in the neighborhood that will occasionally use abandoned structures to try to get away from the elements. But they take that risk on their own, and they do it as an adult decision. What really concerns me is that during the clear days, whether there was snow or not, during the warmer days that we're having now, I'm seeing children who don't have the understanding of what that yellow tape really means, ducking under it and going to play in there. I see young people meeting older people for whatever reason to hang out there. And, you know, like I said, the adults make adult decisions. But what is it going to take? One of these children having the building, or what's left of it, falling on them and hurting them or killing them before it's taken down completely? Something needs to be done. We have to be responsible as a community for keeping our residents and especially our children safe.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Squire. Next is Mr. Joel Arnold.
Good evening, school board. Joel Arnold, live in the 7th Ward. And I wanted to speak tonight, you know, there's a couple things on the agenda this evening that I think speak to some really positive steps that the board has taken, right? We see things about roof replacement projects, using ESSER funds to invest in our district, the parking lot improvements that have taken place. We've all seen the pictures of Doyle Riders renovation, improvements at Potter. These are solid changes. But I think we know that they're not enough, right? And I'm here to support folks that I know who live in Eastside Franklin Park, who have been living next to not just a vacant Flint school, but to call it a school is a stretch at this point. It's a pile of rubble waiting to, unfortunately, like Lisa mentioned, potentially fall and injure somebody else. And there's two things I wanted to hit on why I think it's so important the board approve this tonight. Voting to tear down Washington in the resolution before the board tonight is both the financially responsible thing to do, and it's something that'll make sure that this board sends a message that Flint kids deserve as good of a quality of life as any kid anywhere in Genesee County. For a financially responsible point, you know, there's a dollar figure on in here, and it's expensive to tear down a school like this. But every day that that sits there, this district sits with a massive financial liability. God forbid something happens like Lisa mentioned, this district is exposed every day to millions of dollars in potential liability from that building. If another piece of it falls, if a chimney falls, if somebody gets into it. So the cost to tear down this school is much, much less than the potential financial liability this district faces leaving that up every day. But second of all, I think it sends a message that we all know, right? If a school looked like that and it was in Fenton or Linden or Grand Blanc or Flushing, it wouldn't be up this long. And why should Flint kids walking to school or playing in their yard have to look at something like that kids out in the suburbs would never have to look at? Our kids deserve as good as anybody living anywhere in this county, and if we're really committed to social equity, we'd vote to get rid of what is a huge health hazard for our youth. I live across the street from a vacant Flint school. But and a lot of neighborhoods have this, my neighborhood, many neighborhoods. There is no Flint school that is in the condition that Washington School is in. It is exceptional in a bad way. So if you're concerned about financial responsibility in this district, which we all should be, tearing down Washington is the right thing to do. If you're concerned about making sure that Flint kids have an equitable childhood as good as anybody in this county, tearing down Washington is the right thing to do. So I encourage the board tonight, the resolutions before you, maybe Lisa and Edna and all their neighbors won't have to live next to a burned out building and see kids playing in it anymore. This board has the power to do this tonight. This is why, you know, I'm sure why you guys ran for office is because you care about kids and you care about Flint. You don't need to be here. You could be doing other stuff. So these are the kind of nights that you can really define your purpose on this board and improve the quality of life for everybody in the city, and I hope you take advantage of it. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Next is Miss Edna Sabuko. Ms. Sabuko?
Hello, my name is Edna Sabuko, and I represent the East Side Franklin Park Neighborhood Association. I've been living in my neighborhood for approximately 47 years. My son and my nephew attended Washington Elementary School, and I've seen it go from a very nice school, you know, that deteriorate through the years, and it's been disheartening, to say the least. It's an old school. It's 100 years old. It's been set afire a gazillion times now, and the last time really did a number on it. The heat from the fire weakened the brickwork to the point where we have chunks fall off quite often. You'll be sitting at your dining room table, and you know, all of a sudden you hear a big thud, and the ground reverberates, and you've come to find out that another chunk has fallen. Well, what if it falls on a child? Yeah, you know, it's very important to me because I have grandchildren. I used to take them up there to play on the playground. The playground equipment is still there. People are committing lewd acts and videotaping themselves on the playground equipment. And when I was there taking the photographs that I sent to all of you today, I was near the doorway, an open doorway, and I could hear voices in there. There were people in there, even today. Yeah, and it's like, I don't know what they're doing, but let me tell you something, I wasn't getting real close. It's like, it's just, I truly hope that you will approve the demolition of this school. And perhaps we can do something nice with that piece of land, even if it's just to clear it and mow it to where kids can go there and play without being harmed. As it stands right now, the brush along Ohio Avenue, the fence along Ohio Avenue is so thick, you can't see past it. A child could be abducted and molested in there and nobody would ever know. Yeah, it's just, it just makes my heart break when I think of the things that could and possibly are going on in that building or on that piece of land. So Thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Sabuko. Next is Mr. Matthew Sylvester.
Hello, I'm Mr. Sylvester. I've worked at Flint for 4 years, just before the pandemic. And I'm here because I care about our students. Our students don't have a library, and I'm from Holmes. We don't have a library. Today, as I was walking into my job, a parent stopped in a car and said, "Hey, do you work here, sir?" And I said, "Yes." And he's like, "When are they going to fix this parking lot? It's been this way since I was here 54 years ago as a student. And please, fix the Holmes parking lot. It is embarrassing, and it is hard to tell students to care about their environment when we, the adults, are not caring about the environment that they come to school in." And I also feel it's a liability for, we've had at least one teacher sprain her ankle on the way in, and it's only a matter of time till a parent or a teacher, something happens to a car. Please fix the Holmes parking lot. And I also see the staffing issue. I feel the staffing issue. I work with kids who tell me they can't read. I work with kids who don't have a math teacher, who are, that's not acceptable. They are children. They need to learn math. And I don't have a magic wand, but I have an economic wand. If you want to increase demand for a job, increase pay for new teachers, to keep teachers. Thank you. That is all.
Thank you, Mr. Sylvester. The last slip I have is from Mr. Arthur Woodson.
Good evening. I haven't been here since the last board was in place, and I see that it's the same thing going on. But the only thing different is it's brand new people with two of the same people. Let's place the blame where it should be, is with those two senior elected officials that needs to resign. How is it that people can get threatened out in the parking lot because they disagree with what you are saying politically? And then you're allowing an elected official to bring a sexual registered pedophile up in a board meeting who's causing the trouble. Those three on this side. I know you don't want to look at me. Then you have one racist that eight people she drove out of here. 8 African-American females. And then lied and said I was in the parking lot and tried to get a PPO order on me. Then you have another one that manipulates and send her and target the ones for her to go after. Then you have a superintendent that's ineffective, that floats with the vote, that lied and said I threatened him and went to one of the elected officials and asked her what to do. You are really ineffective, and I really had faith and trust in you. Along with all the rest of them, you should resign too. You said that you didn't want to put a target on your back. You'd rather live on your knees than die on your feet. That's the sad part about it. I stayed away from these meetings because I didn't want y'all to use me as a scapegoat and say I was bringing negativity. When you wrote that letter, that's what made me really want to come down here, because you saying that we spread negativity on social media. If y'all didn't put out negativity, if y'all did y'all job, we wouldn't have anything negative to say. And then you were the only person outside those three that heard when she called him a little boy. They done stood, I done watched these meetings, they done stood up for you and got into it with their colleague. And you wouldn't even say what she said was offensive for her to call him a little boy. But what I did hear is that you said it wasn't even all about that. But see, you float with that vote. You float with those 4 votes. Whoever the 4 votes, that's where you're going to end up at. That's what's going on here. We supposed to have been had new schools, but y'all allowed one person to hold up the strategic plan because of page 11, because it said the history of Mott and Flint schools working together. Let's tell the truth of how y'all be fighting behind the scenes, and you afraid of them. That's why the people leaving. And you too afraid to stand up to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woodson. Is there anybody address, I'm sorry, excuse me, is there anyone else that would like to address the board? You've got.
Good evening. My name is Sue Clegg, and I teach first grade at Potter Elementary. I began my career with Flint Community Schools 29 years ago in August of 1994. Over the years, I've had the privilege of teaching hundreds of scholars. I've developed relationships with students, their families, and our community partners. My current students are benefiting from the one-to-one technology. They're making growth in reading and math. The PBIS program is helping scholars maintain their behavior and leadership goals. Thanks to the literacy grant, we now have a book vending machine and enough books to make sure that children will always have books to read at home. Students have access to after-school programs, including Youth Quest, Boys and Girls Club, and tutoring at Jacob Baptist Church right across the street from Potter School. I've had the opportunity to work with Pastor Watkins on this program, which services K-12 students citywide. Anyone who's taught first grade will tell you that it's a magical grade. The growth and transformations of scholars in this year is unlike that of any other. They go from hardly being able to read at all to full-blown readers. They mature socially and academically, and I get to watch this miraculous transformation every single year. I'm told, "I love you, Mrs. Clegg, and you're the best teacher in the whole wide world," at least 5 times a day. I used to get called Mom by accident. Now I get called Grandma by accident. Go figure. I get texts of appreciation from parents when their children have a success or when I'm able to help a parent with a problem. I find joy in my job every day. It's a great job, and I love it. I love coming to work every day. But it is, of course, not without its struggles. The vacancies that we've had at Potter School have gone unfilled most of the school year. There's been a lack of stability for those scholars with guest teachers in and out. And our building principal often has to sub in those classes, increasing her workload and pulling her away from her daily work as a building principal. For teachers like myself who are helping with these vacancies, we now have additional lessons to plan and materials to prepare and work to assess on top of our already very full workloads. There's no additional compensation for this added work, but we do it because it is necessary for student success. When a staff member is out, more often than not, there is no sub available. On those days, children are spread out among several different classes, disrupting routines and schedules throughout the building. Potter and Doyle Ryder have shared a building for the past 2 years. I cannot for the life of me understand, if we all fit in one building, why are we keeping 2 buildings open and spending money to renovate both buildings? The inability to right-fit this district in a timely manner has caused us financial distress too many times over the years. The closing of buildings and sales of properties needs to be addressed and dealt with immediately. There should be a sense of urgency about this issue. The vacancies downtown have me very concerned. Go ahead and turn that timer off. Those vacancies downtown have me very concerned. They're going to have a negative impact on the many aspects of day-to-day operations in the district and will cause added stress to every single person still working for Flint Community Schools. I am very grateful that our superintendent hasn't resigned. I can't imagine how much additional work and stress this has put on him, and I thank you, Mr. Jones. When I started working for the Flint Community Schools, there were 35 elementary schools. We have had tremendous shrinking pains since then. While some may focus on the negative aspects of that, one positive thing I will tell you is that it has left Flint Community Schools staffed with an overwhelming number of educators with 25+ years of experience. Over the years, my colleagues and I have had professional development training in every academic area: child development, behavior management, PBIS, lesson planning, you name it, we've been trained on it.
Point of order, excuse me, Ms. Lawson. You've exceeded your time.
No, I'm not done yet. I've been working for the district for 29 years. This is the first time I've ever addressed the board, and from what I hear, y'all aren't real big rule followers, so I've got about 2 more minutes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Lawson. I'm gonna have to ask you
I
to.
doubt that there is a more experienced or highly trained, highly educated, or highly qualified teaching staff anywhere in the U.S., let alone in Michigan. I got a teacher.
I'm sorry, Ms. Lawson.
Those of us who choose to teach in Flint, can you give me a minute? You really can't?
We've got 6 other people, Ms. Lawson. I'm sorry. Would she you want to forfeit one of your
Give me
minutes?
your 3 minutes. You're a doll. Thank you. What's your name? Miss
Oh,
Lawson.
I'm sorry. Dear Ms. Lawson.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Ms. Lawson.
Those of us who choose to teach in Flint, many of us, like me, were born and raised in Flint, attended Flint schools. This job is a part of our hearts and souls. For us Flint teachers, we do a job that a lot of people simply could not do, given the challenges we have and the obstacles we've had to overcome. I know we have hired teachers who walk out after a day, a week, a month. We have guest teachers who can't even make it through an entire school day. Of the very few people who could do this very difficult job, most of them simply wouldn't do it. There are too many other opportunities out there, opportunities that pay more and are much easier than the job that we do. So make no mistake, Flint teachers are an elite group of dedicated experts in their field who should be treasured, because I assure you that once all of us are gone, we are absolutely irreplaceable.
Thank you. Can you pause the time? Okay, Ms. Lawson, you've got two minutes, Ms.
2
Lawson.
minutes is fine with me. Can
All
you
right,
hear me
thank you.
okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I don't have anything prepared. I'm just going to give you a little bit of background. I'm teacher, Flint Southwestern. I started in 2015 at Holmes and Potter on a fluke. I am not a teacher. I can teach, but I am not like these amazing instructors here. I absolutely every year say I'm not coming back because teaching's not my thing, but I care about those kids. Mason has a yearbook. It's an amazing yearbook. Every reason we're here tonight is from those pictures in that book. I have in my first hour class, I have 2 students who don't talk. They're too shy to even answer a responsible question. They'll nod, they'll thumbs up. I have a third one that I had a meeting with the other day. Our students are traumatized. Our students are not getting what they need. We have in our back hallway, we have a collaborative learning space. We have a virtual reality room that can't be used because we are understaffed. We have a maker space that can't be used. We are understaffed. We have NJROTC. Even if we were staffed, not all our students can use it because the access to that basement, you have to take stairs, and we have students. I am so tired and burned out. I don't want teacher appreciation. I want you to fix this. I want you to say, well, we're tied up with title funding. I want you to fix that, because when I had a trip to the GISD sponsored to the Makerspace 100K Ideas Flint Farmers Market, I was told, that even Factory 2, I was told that it didn't meet STEM requirements. And I'm like, Factory 2 is totally STEM, plus the GISD was paying for it. I didn't even need the title funding. There is a lack of support for what we do as teachers, and I need, for my robotics, I have some creative students in my classes, but they can't be on the robotics team because of transportation. Parents will not put them on a bus from Kettering late at night. It's not safe to put their kid in Flint. I need a shuttle van. I won't be back next year unless you get me one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lawson. Next is Ms. Nadia Rodriguez.
Nadia Rodriguez, 1610 East Court Street. You know me. I have 3 things I'd really like to stress this evening. The first, I'm going to only touch on for a moment, is our staffing issues. You've had several people, and I'm sure there will be several more, that are going to address this. One thing in particular I'd like to really address is House Bill 4354 through 57. This is directly talking about the outsourcing of our support services. You've heard people talk about how, because of this outsourcing and the lack of support services that we have in the building, our children's needs are not being met. These are federal mandates that we're out of compliance with. This the Detroit Public Schools were sued and they lost about kids not being able to read because they're not getting the services they need. We don't need any more lawsuits. You have a teacher at DTM currently who is working on her master's. She's outsourced as well. She's been asking the district to hire her, and they won't do it because she's under a different contract and they won't buy out her contract. This person comes day in and day out. This is how you drive away staff that is dedicated. You need to pay a living wage. There is nothing left to talk about. Secondly, you have to consolidate. I'm tired of hearing these two words being misused constantly. Generational wealth. The definition of generational wealth is its financial asset passed down through families. Buildings that are dilapidated and blight in our community are not generational wealth. An asset is a useful or valuable thing. They are not assets. They are liabilities. You've heard that word several times. It is the state of being responsible for something, especially by law. When you talk about the demolition of Washington, and I know there's a lot of people that look at that price tag, I would like for you to think about, had you sold it when those things were first being discussed, that would have become money coming into the district for resources for our students. By not doing that, now we have to spend more money. And there's a lot of people in this room that I think can see the parallel between the Flint water crisis. The emergency manager wanted to save some money. How'd that work out? Not well. And I'd love for our district to not continue to be compared to that problem. When you think about the C in FCS, the C stands for community. We are a standard for that community. And what you're doing to the people in the communities that are surrounded with these buildings, but especially Washington. I think that there isn't a person on the stage or in this audience that would like to see the district relive May 31st, 2015, when a student fell through the roof of Johnson and died. We don't need to go there, and if you don't pass this and demolish this building, we're going to end up there. Think about the liability that's going to cause. If you consolidate these buildings, you will consolidate the few remaining resources you have, which are the certified teachers that you have left. Our students need those certified teachers. I am begging you again, as I've done week in and week out, stop fighting, stop being petty, stop making it personal. It is not about any single person on this stage. It is about the students that show up in front of us every single day. Please do your job.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Next, we've got Ms. Bethan Oliver.
I'm Bethan Oliver. I'm a teacher at DTM, a gen ed teacher. We'll say on the penthouse floor. I'm speaking off the cuff right now, but I hear about all these buildings that need restoration and buildings that need to be torn down, and concerned about the Flint Central rumors that people want to rebuild Flint Central. Concerned about students in their neighborhood who may get injured from a building when the ceiling on the third floor at DTM is literally falling in chunks and may hit a child. Keep that in mind, okay? And I have not ever seen any one of you. I'm on the top floor at DTM. You make it up those ramps a couple times. Come visit me and see it. I'm a teacher in my third year of teaching. I started the pandemic year. A second wind career that I was fully aware of the job that entails and the pay that was earned that was certainly not enough. I came to Flint schools because I grew up in a community much like Flint. This is where I feel called to be, where I feel called to teach. I am tired of seeing Flint being taken advantage of. They're lost, they're forgotten, and I love my kids, I love my coworkers, I love my administrators. My building team is doing the best they can with the cards they've been dealt. It seems as if they're being forgotten by the people who can do them the most good. Exhibit A. They're being forgotten by them.
We're short-staffed, working through our planning periods. We're dealing with students who have suffered trauma and are living under the poverty level, and we don't have the staff to support those needs. They need more support than unqualified staff. Our children are in classrooms with substitutes. I substitute in my off time, and in my substitute training, we are told that the average student has 1 year of a substitute between first grade and their senior year in high school. 1 year. We have students that have been with substitutes year after year after year, and you want to wonder why our kids aren't performing the way they can perform, because they're capable of great things. I found out when I first started working there, a couple weeks after I got hired, I got a raise. I was really excited. Then I found out you took that money away from the people at the top to give it to new teachers, to fan it out through the steps, through the levels. The teachers that were supporting me to make me better, to help me and support me, and you took it away from them. What else are you going to take away? Have you forgotten why you're here? Have you forgotten about the kids? Have you forgotten what they need? It's not about politics. It's not about your pretty picture on the website. It's about the kids and what they need, and they need teachers.
Thank you, Ms. Oliver. Thank you, Ms. Oliver. Next is Mr. Trevor Berryhill.
Good evening. My name is Trevor Berryhill. I live on Sloan Street. I've come up here because during the last meeting, I heard something that terrified me. I heard that the board wants to go in a new direction. I want to know what that direction is. I see old names going into old positions or trying, when the people who are in those positions now haven't had time to do anything with them. We have had a rash of resignations from key staff. These do not happen overnight, and these are not something that just happens over a moment of thought. This takes time. I want to know, what is this new direction? Because it looks a lot like the old one that caused so many people that our teachers and students rely on to do their job quit. And I'd like an answer. I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Berryhill. Ms. Katrina Ireland.
Hi, I come from Southwestern Classical Academy, and Mr. Petrick and Ms. Lawson already mentioned some of the amazing things that are happening at our school, such as the creativity in that amazing yearbook that Mason and his peers created. There's a lot of other positive things and beautiful things happening in our building. I absolutely, absolutely love my students, and they come to me every day to either talk to me about their problems, get hugs, get snacks, whatever the case may be. I try to feel the need that I know that they have. And kids still accidentally call me mom. I only have one that calls me G-mom, and I don't quite understand that. I don't think I'm G-mom material yet. But the building is absolutely awful. The vacancies are also an issue. It's too much negativity, and the kids see it as well. Unfortunately, I don't think we're gonna fill those vacancies, because if you don't feel like your school district sees you as deserving a living wage, why would you work there? I currently make $38,000. I've been at Flint Schools now for 4 years. And unfortunately, I'm actively looking for a different job, because I don't know where I got the information from, but they gave me, somebody emailed me this map where you could click on a state, and it would tell you whatever the living wage was in your state. And in Michigan, the living wage is $47,000. So with all the love that I give my students, all the hope, all the snacks, all the hugs, all the advice, I'm not even worth a living wage. I'm not worth living okay. And as a single mom, it sure would help me and my daughter do better. But with all that I do for Flint Southwestern, I guess I'm just not worth it. I've had some students ask me to stay until their senior year. I don't know if I'm gonna make it, because if somebody thinks I'm worth it, I'm gonna go. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mrs. Ireland. Next, we have Winters Hall. Ms. Winters.
Right. Good evening, everyone. How are you? I'm here to support my co-worker, Trevor Berryhill, along with A10 News Media Group. And we're concerned about the direction, the new direction that the school board wants to go in. Now, it was a new direction when y'all got voted in, right? And so it was a new direction when y'all voted those officers in that night, but now y'all want to remove the officers and go in a new direction. The old direction is not working, the new direction is not working. So I'm not really sure what you guys are trying to pull here. Mr. Luna, that was wrong for how you were spoken to. Mr. King, you and I mean, we don't know each other, but also I think that was very wrong for how you were spoken to. Mr. Clegg, you know you my man. I think that they're trying to come for you next. I'm just letting y'all know we here, we watching you, we know what y'all plan on doing. I don't even know why you nominated him in the first place, Claudia. Seriously, because y'all trying to take him out. You rolled him with them three over there. Laura not paying nobody attention. Joyce won't look up. Y'all know what y'all doing. Kevin, come on now. We go too far back, all of us. We need to stick together. You know, y'all always say, train up a child in the way they should go. When they get old, they won't depart from it. But look how y'all doing the younger generation. Y'all dogging them out. That's why don't nobody want to come here. That's why they resigned from this board. That's why they didn't want to run for this board. Some of y'all only got on this board because y'all couldn't get on shit else, nothing else in the city. Just got on here by pure luck. Some of y'all we ain't never seen before. We ain't seen y'all do nothing. But the ones that are active in the community, we support Mr. Clegg, Mr. Michael Clegg. Kevin, I got my eye on you, but you know I love you. Mr. Luna, I support you. Mr. King, I support you. To the rest of you, you need to be recalled. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hall. Mrs. Hall, is there anyone else that would like to address the board in public comment? Anyone else? Thank you to all the speakers. So continuing with the agenda, I now turn the floor over to Trustee King for the Human Resources Committee of the Whole portion of the agenda.
Thank you, President Clark. I would like to call the Human Resources Committee of the Whole meeting to order. I will now call upon Superintendent Jones to present action to the board.
Greetings. I seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 1.6, personnel recommendations, to the regular board meeting on May 17th for adoption.
So moved. It's been moved. Is there a second? President Clark seconds. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion?
Chair.
Yes. My mic on?
Is it on?
Sound low. But go ahead, Mr. Treasurer Luna.
Is it on? I just want to note one thing on 1.6, that it's all retirements and resignations. There's no new hires on there. And I think that's what the audience members are speaking to tonight, but also the reality, and that's an issue. There's been several critical hirings before us in this section, month after month. We've referred them back to subcommittees. We've rejected them. Key positions that really will help us retain and recruit staff. So I hope at this next meeting, when we have this in front of us, it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, at least today, 9 resignations and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 retirements and 5 resignations. I hope you're hiring people in this district, but this today, it's sad.
Is there any more discussion? All right, seeing none, take a roll call. Treasurer Luna,
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford,
Yes.
President Clegg,
Yes.
Vice President McNeil,
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre,
Yes.
Secretary Perkins,
Yes.
myself, Trustee King, yes. Motion passes, 7 yes, 0 no. Mr. Jones?
I seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 1.7, authorization to extend staffing services contract agreement to the regular board meeting on May 17th for adoption.
So moved.
I support.
Moved by Treasurer Luna, supported by President Clegg. Is there any discussion from my colleagues? All right, seeing none, roll call. Treasurer Luna,
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford,
Yes.
President Clegg,
Yes.
Vice President McNeil,
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre,
Yes.
Secretary Perkins,
Yes.
myself, Trustee King, yes. Motion passes, 7 yes, 0 no. Thank you, Mr. Jones. I see no further business. I declare the Human Resources Committee of the Whole meeting adjourned. I now turn the floor over to Treasurer Luna for the Finance and Operations Committee of the Whole portion of the agenda. The time of adjournment of HR Cal is 7:25.
All right. I would like to call the Finance and Operations Committee of the Whole meeting to order at 7:25. I will now call on Superintendent Jones to present action to the board.
I seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 11.17, authorization to purchase learning support services monitoring, RFP 23012 to the regular board meeting on May 17th. For adoption.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll support.
All right, so moved by Trustee King and seconded by President Clegg. I'll turn it over to our friends in front.
Um, 1117 is a software system called Let's Go Learn that would allow our staff, our resource room teachers and our self-contained classroom teachers to track student growth, and it provides tools to make IEP writing easier and more compliant. Do you want me to go through each one of these?
If I could say one thing before you go ahead. To my colleagues, at our Finance and Ops Subcommittee meeting last night, they went through the entire 11.17 to 11.20 in good detail. It made great sense, but you guys can go ahead and do it again, but I think we should approve these 4 action items tonight. Go ahead.
So the Let's Go Learn software is for IEP goal tracking, and it also provides intervention.
I'm sorry. So you would have to make that motion to batch these. you're moving on to another item?
Oh, no, it wasn't a motion. I was just
Oh,
making a point that they,
okay.
last night at the subcommittee, they
Got
talked
it.
about these in good detail. I've not made a motion to batch.
So I don't want you to move on to another item.
Okay.
Just pause, and if
Can I
there's,
say
any- yes, ma'am.
Ms. Pam, how long have you been trying to get all this through? How long have you been waiting on this to come before the board?
A little over a year.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question. Is this also part of?
Yes, Trustee McNeil?
Oh, did you ask me?
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this part of our MDE program as well, and the funds are coming out of what, ESSER or Title I?
It's coming out of our ARP funds.
Uh-huh.
So this is part of the budget that was approved by the MDE for us to spend our ARP funds.
And I'm aware that this is a very much needed process right here, and I'm glad to see it come forth. We really need this here, so I appreciate you bringing it forth. Thank you.
Treasurer Luna.
Trustee Williford?
Can we just, I'd like to make a motion to batch 11.17, 11.18, 11.19, and 11.20.
Is there a second?
Support. I'm in second.
Okay, so I'll restate the motion. The motion is to batch 11.17, 11.18, 11.19, 11.20. It's been moved by Trustee Williford and supported by Trustee Perkins.
Okay.
Any discussion?
None.
Trustee McIntyre?
So I know this is for batching, and we're not discussing things, but before we move on to anything, which I would support batching, because I appreciate all the hard work that you do, and I know how much you've needed support. And so before we go on with voting on to the next things, I just want to know, like, if this is going to be good enough for you, what else you're going to need, because we need, all hands on deck to support you, because we know the tremendous amount of work. So besides, we want to support this, but also what else can we do? I want to keep that conversation going, please.
Getting these items into the hands of the staff will be a tremendous help, and is the starting point that we need to bring ourselves closer to compliance
Thank you so much.
in a number of areas, from ECDD all the way up to transition age students.
Just a follow-up, and please don't hesitate to ask for more or whatever else it is, because we really want to, get going and support you in any way possible.
I think we'll have our hands full implementing this to
Okay.
start.
All right.
Any more discussion? All right, I'll restate the motion. The motion is to batch items 11.17, 11.18, 11.19, 11.20. When I call your name, please vote yes or no. Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre?
Yes.
Trustee McNeil?
Yes.
President Clegg?
Yes, yes.
Trustee Rutherford?
Yes.
Trustee King?
Yes.
And myself, Treasurer Luna? Yes. So the vote is 7-0 to batch.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. King?
I want to make a motion to approve the batch.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion to approve the batch has been moved by Trustee King and supported by Secretary Perkins. Is there discussion on the motion? All right. When I call your name, please vote yes or no. Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre.
Yes.
Vice President McNeil.
Yes.
President Clack.
Yep, yes.
Trustee Rutherford.
Yes.
Trustee King.
Yes.
And myself, Treasurer Luna, yes. The vote is 7-0 to approve items 117 through 1120.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones, we're on item 1121.
Okay. I seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 11.21, authorization to renovate the parking lot lighting at ALA to the regular meeting on May 17th for adoption.
I make- Support.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved by trustee McIntyre and supported by trustee King. Is there any discussion?
Yes. Yeah.
Trustee Rutherford, go ahead.
I heard all the comments from out in the audience. I heard you loud and clear. But what I would like to have done before any more renovations begin, those that are in process, I would love to see those completed. But I would also like the $1.5 million set aside to restore the teachers before we approve anything else. And because why are we investing so much in buildings and we are not trying to invest in the teachers? That's first and foremost. I just find it appalling that everyone, I'm not going to say everyone, I just find it appalling when I look at $73 million and it's not going towards the students or the teachers. So when I hear people talking about we're not doing what we're doing, you don't know what we're doing. And I ask that be patient. Be patient and pay attention. We are all elected to do what we're going to do. May not be what the public want, but it's what's best for these teachers and these students. So when I see all these resolutions for buildings, for parking lots, and for a building that's going to cost this district $700,000, I'm going to say no until the teachers receive what they deserve. So I'm gonna make that clear. I'm going to vote no on a parking lot, on a roof. Give these teachers what they need so we can move forward. Because if you don't have teachers, why fix a building? Let's put the priority where it needs to be. Thank you.
Trustee McNeil.
Picking back on what you said, so are you seeking to make a motion about the 1.5 or before we move forward?
I seek to make a motion to send 11.21, 11.22, 11.23, and 11.24 back to finance until we're able to do what needs to be done for the teachers.
Support. Mr. Chair.
Trustee King, go ahead.
11.23 is the emergency repair of sewage back up at Brownell.
Yes.
Potter, AV consultant to develop plans for auditorium, that's fixing. When I hear teachers, staff members, want to feel valued, pay is one thing, but also building conditions is another. When I travel to other school districts, seeing what new things that they have nice buildings. They don't have leaky roofs. They don't have HVAC issues. They don't have lockers, vandalized that much. It's a nice, clean building. I would rather work in an environment that's safe, up to date, modernized, than our old, decrepit buildings that we have. These buildings has not been renovated since the beginning, since they were created. These are 1900. These buildings been, I think the most recent renovation, Mr. Chair, correct me if I'm wrong, was 1970-ish. That renovation, I believe, was in Northern.
It's been 5 decades.
Yes. So when I hear teachers complain about the roofs, we need to repair roofs. We have money to repair roofs. When I hear teachers complain about HVAC issues at DTM, I walked DTM, went up the 3 flights of stairs. It was hot on one side, cool on the other. Teacher explained to me, she said, yeah, you never know what you're gonna get. Summer, winter, fall, on one side of the building, and the other side could be different. Fix the HVAC issue. We have $70+ million to do renovations. Yes, I think the board could have a conversation on giving our teachers, whether it's stipends or whatever, out of the money, but the building renovations is needed. You can pay teachers good money, but their building's still crumbling. they would still have the same problem. I'm walking to a decrepit building that's falling apart. I can be paid well, but my building can tell me how I'm valued as well. New paint on the walls, when I went to a door writer, that should be a example of what our school districts, our buildings should look like inside throughout our whole district. New walls, just simple things, small thing I look at. Look at the outlets. You see the outlets got USB ports in there. The lights are, LEDs. You walk into a nice environment, I feel valued. So I would not support sending this back to subcommittee. We had a good subcommittee meeting yesterday. It was a robust conversation. And so I won't support that because teachers need, not only, I agree with Peg, but teachers also need a safe building environment that they're in. And I look forward to seeing Clark Construction presentation on high priority issues that we have infrastructurally. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
President Clegg, then Trustee McNeil, then myself.
Okay, I must piggyback on what Trustee Rutherford said. The teachers do need to be paid, and I believe, yes, on Act 22.8 is teacher compensation that's on the agenda. My question might not be for you, it might be for Mr. Henderson about item 11.23, approval of emergency repair of sewage backup at Brownell. How is that a district board thing and not a city of Flint thing? I'm just asking because I don't know.
The backup happened on our property,
Okay.
and we had to fix it, and this is an emergency repair that did happen. And the reason why it's in front of the board is because it exceeds my spending value of
Okay.
$5,000.
Okay, I just wanted to know, sewage, I thought immediately in my mind, thought city of Flint, but thank you, Ms. Henderson.
Trustee
welcome.
McNeil.
Thank you very much. I appreciate what both of my colleagues are saying. I understand the urgency of 11.21 to 11.24, and I also understand the urgency of 22.8 teacher compensation. Hopefully by the time we get there, I'm willing as a board member to make a motion when we get there that we do something about that percentage and that amount of money due them before we leave tonight. So I would like to move forward on 11.21 as well as moving forward on 22.8 when we get there.
Thank you, Trustee McNeil. I'll go real quick. So I was a certified teacher for almost 5 years in the city of Flint, Detroit, and Chicago. And I know firsthand that constantly our teachers are multitasking. They're being teachers, they're subbing, they're monitoring exam classrooms, they're being social workers, they're buying stuff with their students. They're multitasking every day, every year. If this board can't multitask, when we meet twice a month as a full board on keeping our buildings good, keeping them safe, so the roof doesn't collapse, but also paying our teachers what they're worth, that's a problem. This board can multitask, we can walk and chew gum at the same time, so I'll be voting no. I'll be voting no to send this back to the Finance Operations Committee. By the way, it's a public meeting. 2 out of the 3 members came last night, but anyone on this stage can come to the meeting or this community, so please come to the meetings if you can make it. Who was next? Trustee McIntyre?
So I appreciate everything that all my colleagues are saying, and I've been saying for quite some time about compensation for the teachers and for the paraprofessionals. We know we've been working really, really hard to get the living wage up. At one point, I did make a motion for us to consider the union's request to reopen the wage negotiation, and it was voted down by this board. So maybe that's something that we can't reconsider it. It's been too long, how that would work, but I would sincerely hope that we can take the request, because we're not legally obligated to reopen it, but maybe we could at least have that conversation because the teachers deserve more. They've been waiting way too long for too little, and it's we just had a report from a district in Michigan that's starting teacher pay at $40,000. It's unprecedented because they're trying to retract and retain teacher pay, and if we have the money, they took a freeze, they took a wage cut, they took both their hard caps. We got your hard caps up to the current levels. I mean, we've been working behind the scenes, struggling to do this, but I would encourage the rest of my board to support me in this so that we can get you to where you need to be. Thank you.
All right, so I'll restate the motion by Trustee
I just want to be clear, we do not, if we're talking about the same thing, and I stand to be corrected, we do not have to reopen that contract, am I correct? To give them that, what, 19%?
They received some.
Huh? I wasn't for sure, I didn't know what.
It's the restoration.
Anybody?
Okay.
No.
So I think that if I was to give any advice to this, I think that with my close conversations with the UTF, the conversation is more amongst what Trustee Laura stated, actually, about having the conversation. As you remember in the focus that I gave you, this was a part of it. And so the board has not released the superintendent to negotiate with this team. So no, you do not have to open it. But just arbitrarily saying we're going to pay them this amount of money, I don't think that's fiscally responsible when we don't have a CFO. I think we need to have the conversations with the UTF and begin that dialogue and see where we can land with the support we currently have. But stopping the work is not, this is what's gone on for a very long time. We stop everything. We don't need to stop everything. We need to move things forward, but we also, the board needs to make a decision. But I also think that you should get counsel before you make decisions at the table when it comes to those negotiations. That's my advice.
Trustee Luna.
Trustee Rutherford, go ahead.
With all due respect, Superintendent, I spoke with UTF, I spoke with Bruce, and also spoke with Ms. Karen. And we do not need to open up negotiations because these were the concessions that the teachers gave. So when the concessions were made, once we got out of the debt elimination, they could be restored. I accept your apology. So when it comes to restoring the teachers, no one said not to fix the buildings. We want the teachers to be paid prior. If you go fix the building, pay the teachers. Yes, we can do things at the same time.
Yes.
But we want the priority where the teachers receive what they deserve before you put a piece of paint. If you can paint a wall, you can pay the teachers simultaneously. So to my colleagues, when you hear, I need you to listen to understand, not to respond. And when I start talking, I talk to people prior to me having any type of conversation. I speak with experts before I talk. Thank you.
Is there any more discussion on the motion to batch 11.21, 11.22, 11.23, and 24 back to finance and operations? I have one. Mr. Henderson, could you explain 11.23 and the effect that it's having on the school community right now and why it was an emergency and why it needs our approval?
So the sewage was backing up into the field, which is near the playground area, as well as a portion of it went back into the building. So we had no choice but to dig up the line. We brought in a company. They determined where the sewage was backed up. We dug up the line. We made the repair and jetted out the system, and the sewage then was flowing correctly.
In your expert opinion, if this board doesn't act tonight, what are the consequences of not approving this?
I cannot pay the contractor that's already provided the work for the sewage backup.
Would that put this district out of compliance and at risk for liability?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion on the batch to send back to finance and operations?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Trustee King, go ahead.
11.2, excuse me, Mr. Henderson. Could you explain 11.2 for my colleagues?
11.22.
Yes, I'm sorry, 11.22. I apologize. Yeah.
22?
Yes.
Okay. That is the AV consultant, and that's to be brought in so they can do the proper study on our audio-visual concepts for the Potter Auditorium.
In your opinion, the Potter Auditorium, what would that look like?
What would it look like?
Yes, like with the new
We've already-
renovation in that.
We've already done the design aspect of it, but this is for the actual electronic pieces that go with that. And it was missed when we did the initial design. The consultant wasn't brought on board at the proper time.
Okay. I would like to say that I've been to Potter. I've seen the auditorium. The auditorium is closed because the ceiling is terrible.
Yes.
I have pictures. I do have pictures of that auditorium. It's dark. It's not right. I believe our scholars deserve a nice auditorium. Potter Elementary School deserve a nice auditorium to host events and et cetera. There's no point of moving these are transformational things, renovations to our buildings, back to committee and then bringing it back again when there will be probably no discussion again. So I won't be supporting this.
I think Perkins is next.
I was just trying, he explained, my question that I had, but it just seems like that sewage, no, Trustee Laura said she saw that today, and it was pretty bad. So maybe we need to take that one out and approve it, if the other ones can wait.
So the motion on the floor was to batch 11.21, 11.22, 11.3, and 11.24 back to FINAP.
If no one has any objections, I'll amend my motion
What's the amendment?
to take that one out.
To take the 11.23 out.
To take, 11.23
support
out
that.
and support that.
Okay, so
Take it out.
the amendment to the motion to batch these to back to FINAP has been moved and supported. Is there any discussion on the amendment to the motion?
Point of order. We have a friendly amendment on the floor. Trustee Relaford made an amendment to her motion, so we need to reconsider, we need to
So,
consider that.
A point of order, according to Robert's rules, a friendly amendment doesn't exist in our parliamentary procedure, so according to this, we need the official motion to amend it. It needs support, discussion, then we go ahead.
It was supported, there's no discussion.
All right, so is there any discussion to amend the batch back to FINAP?
That was,
No. We're
Mr. Chair.
Trustee King?
All right, Trustee Relaford made a motion to amend her the original motion was to batch 11.21 to 11.24 to send it back to Finance Subcommittee, but her amendment was to take out 11.23. So Treasurer Luna, you're correct on the parliamentary procedure part of amendment and to support it. We should be discussing the amendment to take out 11.23. If that is passed, the batch will be absent of 11.23, and then we go back to the original batch
Correct.
without 11.23.
So again, is there any discussion on the amendment to the batch? All right, seeing none, the motion on the floor is to amend the batch to the FINAP committee without 11.23.
correct.
All right, when I call your name, please vote yes or no. Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre.
Yes.
Vice President McNeil.
Yes.
President Clack.
No.
Trustee Relaford.
Yes.
Trustee King.
No.
Treasurer Luna, myself, no. So the amendment to the original motion passes 4-3. Now back to the original motion that's amended, which is to send 11.21, 11.22, and 11.24 back to finance and operations.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I forgot about 11.24. So we had a good, as I said, we had a subcommittee yesterday. 11.24, Mr. Henderson, can you explain the compliance part about that, please, that the board needs to know?
Yes, for the board, 11.24 is where we were originally with the county on all our stormwater management oversight, which includes Eagle. This went to The county was paying for all the monies to oversee all this, and this has now been, the county is pushing back and wants to make all the districts in compliance with this and push the operations back down to that level. So instead of being nested as a group and to stay compliant with our stormwater management aspects, this is going to us as a district to be compliant. And all the other districts within the county are going with Arch Environmental on this. And that's what this is for them to provide the oversight that's required for our stormwater management to stay compliant with Eagle and the EPA.
So, Mr. Henderson, would it be correct to say this would basically clean out the stormwater drains inside of our
That's
our
part of
district
it,
building?
yes.
That's part of it. I
Trustee
think
Mc-
that's kind of simple in my mind. That's stormwater.
Trustee McIntyre?
So Eagle and the EPA, we know how wonderful they've been to Flint, especially involving water and their compliance with what's they're supposed to do to keep us safe and in compliance. So I hear you saying that they're pushing it down to the districts, and that the other districts are using Arch Environmental. So is this a law? Is this mandated? Is this something, or can we push back on the pushback and have Eagle and the EPA finally do what needs to be done and maybe step up to the plate a little bit where Flint is concerned, since they've been so woefully absent for the past 9-10 years?
This would simply make us compliant with the rules and regulations by the EPA and Eagle for the state to take care of our stormwater issues on our property.
So that didn't, just to follow up, it didn't answer my question. We don't have to do it. We can push back on them.
Technically, by law, you should be doing this.
Mr. Anderson? So I want to be clear. So if we don't approve this, this will put the district out of compliance with the state and federal government and then at financial risk.
Correct.
Understood.
So to answer my question, though, can we push back on their pushback? I didn't get an answer.
You can always push back, but it's my technical expertise that I would say we need to do this to stay in compliance with stormwater management on our properties.
But I'm following up with this. The EPA and Eagle, I'm have not been cooperative with us, and I don't want to say I want to be uncooperative, but the answer to this question is no, we don't, and no, we're not going to be out of compliance if we contest this and make them do what they're supposed to do. Just because they've decided that they want to push this down on the individual districts, that's shameful. Shame on the EPA and Eagle. I'm honestly tired of their antics with a lot of other things. They're responsible. And to put it on the backs of school kids when we've been dealing with COVID, we've been dealing with the water crisis, and to make the kids and the school districts pay for this, this is incredible. So I think if it's in our power that we should sit up and push back wherever possible.
Point
Do
of
what
order.
we can. I'm not voting for it.
I would just quickly, I would just tell my colleagues this. We have the right to be upset about how the government at the state and federal level have treated this community, but let me be 100% clear. Mr. Henderson's the expert when it comes to these things on our staff. If this board chooses to not approve these tonight, it will put this district at financial risk and liability. It's an unwise decision. It shouldn't have to be delayed. I recall a vote several months ago where there was probably one question from folks who voted to delay RFPs when it came to busing, lawn care, and I believe it was snow shovel removal. At the next, yes, CSM. At the next board meeting I called that was special, that cost us money to have, my colleagues have voted against to delay it, not one question. I really implore you to approve this tonight and vote no on this batch.
Mr. Chair,
Please go ahead.
So okay. The county used to do this, right?
Correct.
The county used to, the GISD or just the county government?
County government.
The county
Tennessee
government used
County
to
government
take care of
used
this.
to oversee this.
So they used to take care of the stormwater drains management system for all school districts,
Correct.
right? And so the county is not doing that part no more,
Correct.
right? So they were in compliance with EPA, Eagle, from the county standpoint, right?
Correct.
But the county says no longer are we doing this. School districts would have to take responsibility of this, right?
It was truly the county that pushed it down to the school districts.
Okay, so this is a county.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee McNeil?
I'm going back and I'm looking at a couple of things, and we got to look at these ELSA funds. Some of these items were tied up to the ELSA fund, which we had already approved, been allocated for this, and I believe that we're running out of time as it relate to Potter, as it relate to the parking lot. I'm concerned about how we are pushing deadlines back and moving stuff, and we got this deadline to meet for ELSA funds. And that's what my concern is. We already done allocated these funds. You know, I stand to be corrected. And they're out there. And these people that we have working, trying to get Potter done, we need to move forward because in June, hopefully, the right to be done. Potter have to go to the writer, but I don't want any gap between, if we pull this back to a batch, then are we gonna be in a meeting the next day or two? We will have to be in a meeting the next day or two, so we don't lose any more time as it relate to ELSA funds. Those are my concern. I understand 11.23, I guess that, but I'm also concerned about getting these consultants over, and let's go ahead and take care of Potter, because we allocated that a year or two ago, and we still haven't got it. And we got a year or so to get all of this money done and renovation done. So that is a big concern to me because it's already allocated and approved. So I'd like to know what the board intake on that and where we should be moving. That is where I am at. 11.23, yes, 11.24. If we can discuss something that further, I can see that.
Trustee McNeil, if I could say one more thing.
Sure.
At our subcommittee meeting last night, the superintendent and Ms. Henderson made very clear that a lot of these items that we are debating to batch to send back another month, next month to June, you risk things like ESSER funds being allocated, projects being completed, and look, I'm all about paying teachers and fixing our buildings, but if we don't move in an expeditious manner, we'll send this money right back to Joe Biden, and no one gets it in this community.
And paying teachers to me is not part of ELSA fund. That's something we can deal with in general fund. My concern is that we're running out of time with these ELSA funds, and I don't want to have to give the government back anything. And we know that supply and workload is in demand. So I will advise that we look at some of these things closely so we can just keep moving with renovation and construction. Whatever that part is, I think that we should move forward with it.
Thank you. Trustee Rutherford.
I guess I'm trying to prove a point to the audience. It's not about a building. You've allocated money to buildings, but no one has allocated any money to the teachers. Period. Just take care of the teachers. The money will come out of general funds, you all.
Yes.
We need it there. So all this back and forth and rationalizing, it's going to get done. But I'm asking that the teachers be put ahead of this. While you're doing this, take care of the teachers also. We've been going back and forth since January. It is now May. I'm just beyond waiting on this board to do what they need to do, specifically Treasurer Luna. Let's get this done. I just want you to put as much effort in the teachers as you put in the buildings. That's all. So let's vote so we can keep it going.
President Clark.
Okay. My mic on? Am I good? Okay, with all, I'm trying to figure out, why are we separating anything? With all due respect to my colleagues, we just admitted that we can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time, so why are we not able to handle all of these things now, and why are we pushing it back? Why can't we take care of this stuff now? And
Call the question.
Oh, I like the answer. Because it hasn't happened, that's why.
but we keep pushing.
So, everyone had, one second. Everyone's spoken. I'll let you go real quickly, but we have to move on to the agenda. At this point, I'll let Trustee Perkins speak, and then I'll call the vote.
Okay, well, my question is, do we have enough money to do both?
Yes, we,
Yes.
so Trustee Perkins.
Yes.
At this moment, I will call a vote for the motion to batch 11.21, 11.22, 11.24 to send it back to Finance. And just to remind my colleagues,
You already voted. If you're doing anything now, you're reconsidering.
so, hold on. So, we voted on the amendment to separate 11.23. Then we go back to the original motion, which was to batch these and send it back to Finance. So we're voting on that motion right now.
Thank you.
All right. So again, before we vote, I'll state it again to my colleagues. I'll say it clearly and slowly. We're voting yes to send these items back, 11.21, 11.23, 11.24, back to Finance, which will be next month.
That's not
When I call
correct.
your name,
That's not
please-
correct.
Point of order. Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Tree.
Recognize? Okay. So what you just stated was inaccurate. So 11.23, we amended that. Remember that we amended that to take that out. So this would be 11.21, 11.22, 11.24. That would be the batch to send back to sub.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
My mistake. All right, so on that motion to send it back to Finance and Operations, when I call your name, please say yes or no. Secretary Perkins.
I thought we just decided, well, no. I thought we just.
So we voted on the amendment to remove 11.23 from this batch to send back. Now we're back to the motion to batch it and send it back. So yes to send it back or no to not send it back.
Or not to move it. Can you keep going? Skip over me for a minute. Let me get. my
Okay,
minutes.
Trustee McIntyre
To move it back?
to Finance and Operations.
No.
Trustee McNeil.
No.
President Clegg.
No.
Trustee Relaford.
No.
Trustee King.
No.
Myself, Treasurer Luna. Trustee Perkins.
No.
You just waste so much time. All right. Now back to the original 11.21. Mr. Jones, could you please?
Yes, sir. I seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 11.21, authorization to renovate the parking lot lighting at ALA, to the regular meeting on May 17th, 2023 for adoption.
So moved.
Support.
Is there any discussion? When I call your name, please vote yes to approve 11.21 to renovate the parking lot lighting at ALA. Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre.
Yes.
Trustee McNeil.
Yes.
President Clegg.
Yes.
Trustee Relaford.
Yes.
Trustee King.
Yes.
Myself, Treasurer Luna, yes. The vote is 7-0. Now, I would, before we seek a motion to approve 11.22, given the discussion on all this, I would encourage my colleagues to batch 11.22 and 11.24 to move quicker because we discussed it. Is there a motion to batch those?
Support. Mr.
No,
Chair,
I move.
Oh, go
Trustee
ahead,
King.
I'm sorry.
I make a motion to batch 11.22, 11.23, 11.24 together.
Support.
All right. It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? I do have a question. Superintendent Jones, would this be for approval tonight or to send to the full board next week?
Send it for next week.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the batching? None at all, okay. When I call your name to batch 11.22 and 11.24, please vote yes or no for the batch. Secretary Perkins.
Didn't you also include 2-3?
Sorry, 2-3.
It's in there.
No,
It's in there, yeah.
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre.
Yes.
Vice President McNeil.
Yes.
President Clegg.
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford.
Yes.
Trustee King.
Yes.
Myself, Treasurer Luna, yes. The vote is 7-0 on the batching. Now to send it to the meeting next week. 11.21, 11.23, and 11.24. Is there any discussion? When I call your name, please vote yes in the affirmative, no for the negative. Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre.
Yes.
Vice President McNeil.
Yes.
President Clack.
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford.
Yes.
Trustee King.
Yes.
And myself, Treasurer Luna, yes. The vote is 7-0 to send it to the full board next week. All right. Now, let's see. Oof. Mr. Jones, we're at 11.25.
I seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 11.25, Washington School demolition, to the regular meeting on May 17th, 2023 for adoption.
It's moved.
Which one?
25.
1125, Washington School.
Is there a motion to move it?
I
Mr.
move.
Chair.
I second.
All right, it's moved by President Clack. Is there a second?
Support, I'm sorry.
Is there any discussion? I do have one item. I think in the best interest of the safety of our students, the folks in the neighborhood, we should approve this full appropriation tonight instead of sending it to the board next week, but that requires a motion.
Oh, I do have one discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Trustee King?
I want Mr. Henderson to explain, we talked about the budgeting of $704,000 on 742. Can you explain that to the board, please?
Yes, what we're seeking tonight is actually a budget number of $704,000, which includes the demolition contractor, asbestos abatement oversight for air monitoring, and Clark construction fees. All that will be wrapped into a budget number when we will then go out and seek qualified bids from demo contractors to perform the actual work.
So this is, approving this will set aside $704,742 as the limit for that construction work to happen, right?
Yes,
Okay, so this is, the board will still be able to have that bidder come to the board and be approved for that work, but it's not to exceed $704,742, right?
yes.
Thank you.
May I add?
Superintendent Jones?
Yeah, this is still going to be competitively bidded out. Just want to make that clear for the record.
Yes.
Okay.
It will definitely be bid out, and we will bring the qualified bids back to the table as information for that $704,000 number.
Trustee
President Clegg?
Luna?
Okay, my first question was already answered with the asbestos abatement. But when do you, how long do you think this process can take from this day until Washington School is gone?
We could do it in 4 to 5 weeks.
It takes a couple weeks.
For the RFP?
Yes.
Yeah, I understood.
Okay.
That was, I meant-
Okay, all right.
Yes, ma'am.
Trustee
Because we
Luna?
still have to put it out for bid
Right.
for
Oh, I
qualified
didn't, you didn't
contractors.
acknowledge me, so I didn't know if
Then
you
we
heard
will
me.
do that, and then we will start the process from there. But if you approve the budget, then it gives me the leverage to go ahead and move forward.
Trustee Rutherford?
Okay.
I guess for me, if they bid and we set a budget, so I'm confused. Maybe y'all can help me out. So we're setting a budget for $704K, but then you're gonna put the bids out. So, and I guess I'm going back to what Trustee King said. we're not going to exceed at all. So all the bids are going to be below that, because I think when Clark was here, they said they had got an estimate of
Clark
that.
is here, and they have, myself as a team with Clark, we've been assured that the number will be under that 704,000.
Okay, and if that's not used, we'll get money back. I think that's what Clark said when
That
you
is
were here.
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Is there any more discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Oh, 1 second. Question.
The way the state law works is anything over $26,000.
Who are you?
I'm Dave Warner with Clark Construction.
Hi, Dave, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
So,
Don't be looking at me.
so the way the state law works in Michigan is anything over 26,000 and I said anything over about $26,000. It changes every year. Has to be competitively bid. So, y'all are proven tonight to let us go out and get those bids and bring them back to you.
Okay.
We estimated the cost of the job. We actually had some contractors look at it to verify our costs, but we believe we have it covered. Obviously, there's not a lot of good drawings for that building, so we see this coming in under what it is. But
The estimate you gave was a conservative estimate when it came to the amount, but more than likely, we'll spend less to demolish it.
yes,
All right.
Mr. Chair?
Trustee King.
I like a motion, I would like to make a motion to approve 11.25 tonight.
Support.
All right, there's been a motion, but
Yes.
there's been a motion made to approve 11.25 tonight by Trustee King and supported by Secretary Perkins. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, when I call your name, please vote yes in the affirmative, no in the negative. Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre.
Pass.
Vice President McNeil.
No, I need to think about it. Oh.
We'll go back. Do you want to come back to you?
Come back to me.
President Clegg.
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford.
We voted,
Yes.
we voted tonight.
Trustee King.
Yes.
And myself, Treasurer Luna, yes.
So we don't have to go into the next meeting, that's what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
are you a yes?
Yes.
All right, the vote is 7-0 to approve.
I didn't vote.
She didn't vote.
Did you vote?
Oh, I heard yes, sorry.
Yes.
Okay. So the vote is 7 yes, 0 no, to approve the budget for Washington's demolition tonight. All right. Next item on the agenda, Mr. Jones, 11.26, please.
Yes, at this time, I will ask Clark Construction to come to the stage for the presentation of Phase 2 construction projects. Hey, Dave.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Chris, do you have extra one or no? Did you print out exactly? All right, thanks.
Oh, you got it up there. Okay.
At this point, I'll turn it over to Dave for the presentation.
appreciate it. All right, in front of you, you have a construction update and potential future projects and a plan. So I'm going to go over Doyle Ryder currently. We're in the process of, in the final month of construction. Highlights from Doyle Ryder is we created 22 individual classrooms. We updated marker boards, tack boards, all brand new, storage cubbies, teaching stations, paint, flooring, ceilings, digital clocks, you name it, we've touched it over there. LED lighting, aux sensors, fire alarm upgrades, refinishing the learning stair, HVAC upgrades, and temperature controls. Oops, sorry. These are some examples of what the classrooms looked like a week ago when we walked through. Let's see what the future holds. These are the cubbies in all the classrooms. Now you can see flooring and new finishes. And this is the new hallway. So Doyle Ryder is coming to a close construction-wise, but it'll be open for 2023-2024 school year.
Mr. Chair?
With a new parking lot as well.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I want to quickly comment on this. I walked Doyle Ryder, and this is beautiful. This is beautiful work. I believe this is a example of how Flint schools could be known as with the renovations wise. I appreciate you all for the hard work that you have done. Mr. Henderson, I appreciate you. Is there another opportunity that the board could have to do a walkthrough?
Absolutely. You can come any day. You just give me a day and we will gladly walk you through the facility, the entire board.
Okay, thank you.
I got a question.
Trustee Perkins, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so I remember that little small parking area. Are you extending it or?
We're repaving all the existing surfaces
Right.
and fixing everything that's existing.
Oh, it's not enlarging it?
It's got one in the back.
Oh, it's one in the back. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you. So Trustee McNeil, sorry, Vice President McNeil, then President Clegg.
I didn't have a question, but I do want to thank you. I was with you when we first began that project, and to see it in the condition that it is now, you guys have done a great job, and we're looking forward to see more great work from you. And I must say, you did it in a very timely manner. When we first started out, we had a lot of hiccups, but the project, as I'm concerned, went in a very timely manner. And I'm looking forward to when we can walk through it. It looks like it's safe enough for us to walk through it now. So thank you very much for your good work.
Amen.
President Clegg.
I would like to also piggyback on my colleagues, and to inform the board that has not been able to walk through and the public that hasn't had the opportunity to see the renovations in this beautiful school. These pictures do this school no justice. I've had the opportunity to walk around the new Doyle Ryder,
The new one.
and it is beautiful.
Wow.
So I would also I would like to thank you all, Clark, Mr. Henderson,
Great
for
job.
the hard work. But again, I would like to stress that these pictures don't do any justice. This building is absolutely beautiful. So I think that this school should be the standard. I think that we can use this as a
Yes.
start, and all the other
Right.
buildings should follow in the same sequence. This building is beautiful. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Can I make one comment? We
Go ahead.
couldn't do it without Stantec, our
I forgot.
architects
I'm
and
sorry.
engineers.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Because there's another Clark back in the back, right? You couldn't bring everybody up.
You want to go ahead and continue?
Any other questions on Doyle Ryder?
No, great.
All right, let's move on.
Great job.
Okay, so I'm gonna cover what's coming up next. We have parking lots coming up in summer of 2023. We have
Yay.
ALA, Doyle Ryder, Eisenhower, Freeman, Holmes, Nethercutt, and Pierce are all on the list currently. There are 3 more in design currently, so that is scheduled to happen. These are all scheduled to be completed by starting school of 2023, as long as I don't get 3 months of rain. So,
And home starts next week.
and home starts next week. Yes.
Yay.
Can you say that again, please?
Did you say that
Can you
loud
say
and
that,
clear?
please, again for the people in the back,
Thank you.
please?
I couldn't hear you.
Holmes parking lots will start next week, just so everybody
Yay.
understands that.
Yay.
So, any questions about parking lots at this point?
No, you answered the number 1 question. That we wanted you to start with homes.
We will get to all these this summer. So coming down the pipe currently, we are in the process of starting our roofing design work.
Excuse me, she had a question.
Yes.
Was that Trustee McNeil? I'm sorry. Or Trustee McIntyre?
I have a question, but I would withdraw.
You can go ahead.
Sorry.
Back to us.
We'll back up one? Oh.
You can go ahead.
Fine.
Continue.
So the 4 roofing projects are listed above: Potter, DTM, Holmes, and Brunel.
Yay.
We are in the process of starting design work on that. That will be starting fall of '23 and going through until spring.
President Clegg.
Right, I remember, I'm sorry, I remember the last time that I asked about Southwestern. Is that gonna be anywhere in the plans for their roof?
We're working through it still.
Okay, thank you.
And obviously with approval of the
Of course.
project. And also, we plan on having Washington Street down and gone by fall of '23. So,
Any questions on that?
Mr. Chair,
Trustee King?
to President Clark, if I may,
Go ahead.
I know the roofing project is, you're gonna see next, on the next page,
Right. okay.
about the high priorities by
I
Southwestern,
just flipped it over.
the good stuff. All right.
all right.
You can go ahead.
Yeah, Washington Street demolition, we're in the process of developing what needs to be demoed out of there, along with Arch Environmental, to understand how we're gonna treat that building, because obviously I cannot let anything escape, is the best way to say it.
Right.
So we're working through that right now. I would see that come to you around August, July for a fall, and it's about 5 weeks, around 5 weeks from start to finish, when we reseed and we walk out of that site.
Yay.
So, and I guess current plan is to make that entire block green space.
Okay,
We're just working through some city requirements right now and getting all that together.
okay.
Sounds good.
Sounds real good.
Okay? So here comes the future. So last time at this board meeting, we said we'd come back with a plan. We've walked through every building over the last month and a half with a large team and looked at every nook and cranny, every building. And as you see up here, this is where we believe we can do the most good, where it makes sense. There are multiple levels of renovations in here. You'll see, for instance, $22 million at Homes. It's the sheer size of the building is the reason the cost is driving. So we have major renovations allotted here at Potter, at Brownell, at Homes. There are next tier renovations at DTM, Southwest, and then we tried to keep it within the allotted ESSER funds. So obviously you can see that we have multiple priorities over the side. There's about $350 million in priorities on our list. However, we're looking currently at the high priorities, which are falling into the range of what funding you have.
One question.
Yes.
Could you explain to us what's a high priority, a medium priority, and low priority, like an example for each, and why those were given such designations?
Well, this is typically we did the same steps we would in a pre-bond campaign. So we went through the buildings and we have a very large list that is not sitting in front of you. And then we sat down with the district, with our Stantec team, as a team as a whole, and said, what is important? Safety and security is one of them. Upgraded finishes is one of them. Getting HVAC controls and HVAC corrected in buildings so that they cool and heat appropriately. Upgrading electrical services. I'll go through each school. This is obviously just the roll-up of my next, slide 11 through 18. So this is kind of showing you what we believe is, or what we know as experts is where we need to be at each building when we're done renovating it. You want to add anything, Michael?
Any more questions on that?
So on these projects, I think one way to look at these, the way the lower priority type things, so we did an awful lot at Doyle Ryder with, kind of major renovation things to kind of change the entire feel of all of the classrooms. And so with the budget that's available for this, we really didn't quite go to those extremes, although we are painting and upgrading throughout, but we're not going quite as far as was gone on Doyle Ryder.
Thank you.
So let's start at Potter. Sorry. So obviously I have the roof replacement in this number as well. part of a security piece is having an outbound secure vestibule and a secure office. All your offices are inbound in the center of the building. So part of this, every school, we are proposing putting an outbound office and a secure vestibule for your student safety. At Potter, we're replacing exterior doors, exterior windows and glazing. We have a line item in for any ADA code items that we will run into as we go. We have major HVAC upgrades. We have to add fire protection to the building because of the amount of renovation we're doing. We have electrical and power distribution upgrades, fire alarm, PA upgrades, full lighting systems, which will make the building function, which will run cheaper. Ceiling replacements in the full building, because obviously we're going to take them all down to redo the hot water loops and the things that make it cool, cool and hot, basically. We have a major office renovation to get it outbound. When I say that, it means to the face of the building, so those people that are working in that office can see if there's any trouble coming.
So yeah, that was the point I wanted to make, that it's the outbound office. It does stay within the building square spaces. Right now, we're not putting additions on to accomplish that.
And then we have some landscaping upgrades, and a secure vestibule, directional signage, and some wall graphics, and some other things to brand the school. So that is Potter. Any questions? You want me to kind of run through these, or you want to stop at every school? And
Mr. Chair? We'll go through schools. Trustee King, go ahead.
I would like to make a note, the PA system update. I see that in a lot of our buildings. I'm glad we'll be updating our PA system if the board approves it. I know a lot of teachers was concerned about their PA. Some don't work, some do work. So I'd be glad to see we get the little old box out the main office that the teachers have to use as barely functional, be changed out. So that's all I want to make note, and also the HVAC and the security vestibule things. I think that's a great step, and to make sure our scholars are safe and our staff. Thank you.
I had one question, and this might be for Superintendent Jones, but who can answer it doesn't really matter. If we were to downsize one of these schools, how could we then spend that money? Would it go to the other schools to kind of maximize that impact?
yes, I guess as anything, as a plan is fluid. We're going to be updating you regularly. This doesn't start construction. This starts design work. They have all the heavy, Stantec has all the heavy lifting for the next couple months, getting stuff ready for us to bid out and award.
So that question was asked by me, to ensure that even with the design work, what you approved tonight for design work, if we are not able to accomplish all of these things, then the design costs will go down as well.
Okay. So I gotta say, like, a lot of taxpayers ask about if you're gonna put all the money to every school and then close 2 or 3, the money is not really being invested, it's being spent. So it's good to hear that the money could be readjusted.
Mr. Chair.
Trustee King?
Did you have something to say, Ms. Perkins?
No,
Okay.
I'm fine. Thank you.
My question to Mr. Henderson and our admin staff, what can the board do to help? I'm not going to speed this along, because I know we're on a deadline of September 30th, 2024. The project has to be started and completed by then, right?
That is correct.
So what can the board do to help?
You could also pass everything tonight, so we could start having the design team start moving forward with design packages. And the quicker the packages come to the construction team, we can start bidding that process out. So therefore, we'd be closer to meeting our 2024 aspect.
Okay. So tonight I see in that resolution for the 11.26, it says $4 million and some dollars. Could you explain? I see it on page, for my colleagues, on page 10. Talk about the architect work, right? Architect, engineering, and consulting fees.
Of 4.9 million, yes.
Yes. So this would allow you to start that process and be able to get those information things back quicker.
Correct.
Okay. So that'll be what you're seeking for approval tonight, to allow the architects to start on the designs of all these works in each school, right?
Yes, every week you add to my schedule helps and improves our time frames back to you.
Okay, and that's a limit that we're not trying to exceed, right?
We are seeking approval of a budget number.
Got you. Thank you.
Vice President McNeil.
Hi, thank you. When you guys first came to us about a year ago with our other boards, and we brought you on, and my question would be now we're moving into where we had spoke about using community partners to help with some of the renovation. Because you remember we talked about that, I think it was Clark Construction, and we have the community partnership agreement. So is there space in place for community to bid within, you know, these partners that wants to come in and help do some of the construction work, clean up? Is there a space for that? We have not gotten to that yet.
Yes, there is, and we'll be looking at getting community business participation, and we'll be making notification to those companies and seeing that they have the proper business set up and things that they need in place in order required by the state for bidding. So they'll have to have the proper bonding and things. Yeah. So yes, we'll work with them to maximize the local businesses. So we'll be talking about the packages in advance of them going out, and then once they go out, we'll be contacting them to place bids on it.
Appreciate that, thank you. Thank you for keeping your words too, thank you.
We all set on Potter?
Mr. Joe, one more question.
All right, let's
Go ahead.
move on.
You ready?
Brownell.
Mr. Dillon.
Brownell has a similar scope. Oh,
Mr. Luna?
I wasn't done. So, Mr. Dillon, through you to Mr. Jones. These are the funds that we had already approved through ESSER, right? These are, all of this is coming out through the ESSER 3?
So for the most part, Dr. Joyce.
okay.
There are certain things that ESSER will not pay for.
Yeah, and I saw that on there. Yeah,
Yes,
that was
and
very
so
clear.
we're still working with MDE to try to
Okay.
ensure we know what that is. So things are not going to just go out for bid without coming back and you all seeing the difference between what's general fund
Okay,
and what's ESSER.
all right, thanks.
I
Any
think
more questions?
One more follow-up.
I think I should talk process just a little bit. It was asked about how we can expedite things together. So one of the next things we're gonna be coming to you with is, so right now we're talking about getting Stantec underway on design. Once they get into design, we will start doing estimates on their packages as they design to keep things within the budgets. So we will be coming to you for approval of our funds to provide services for the bond program. And then after that, then we will be on board to start packaging these projects as they're finalized by the architects and putting them out for bid. And then we'll be bringing each of those packages to you for the award of the contractors down the road. So,
Trustee McIntyre.
So I'm concerned about the sunset on the dollars, and I'm wondering, because there's going to be so much going back and forth, in order to expedite this process, there's some way that if you get to a point where you need to come before us, I don't want to have to wait like every month. Is there some way to have special meetings to meet requests as they
Yeah.
come up?
I would say similar to the RFPs that we approved about a month and a half ago, where we called a special finance comm meeting. We can call those meetings within, several days if there is an issue. So I think we could do that easily.
and we can let you know well in advance when those will be needed, if needed.
So that'll be on Chris.
So it won't be an emergency aspect.
Gotcha. Want to go ahead? I think we're good.
So to expedite for the board, is there any differences as we move through these schools? Are there differences? So can we hit those differences?
Different. So Brownell and Potter are very similar.
Okay.
In scope. They almost are, you look at them, they're very, very close. So everything that was on Potter's is on Brownell's. And similar to Holmes, Holmes is larger. So that's why there's a larger dollar figure. It's actually almost, it's like 2.5 times the size of any of those schools, square footage. So Brownell and those three buildings are almost similar in scope. Yes.
I just have a question on this, maybe Mr. Jones can help me. Scope number 13, HVAC upgrade. I thought we did some type of upgrade on HVAC through Johnson Control. Is this something that a little bit different, Mr. Jones?
So, again, great questions. I told you I know the board, right? I asked that question. You want to elaborate on that?
So currently, JCI did come in and do renovations to our boiler systems, but throughout, we're still pushing hot water to radiant ceiling pieces with an air handler behind it. And we were going to look at upgrading that type of system. They only had enough funds to actually do the boiler. We're looking at controls and other aspects of the radiant system and upgrading it that way to more current, efficient units.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions?
Just to second that, part of when we take all those ceilings, all those buildings, is all that radiant panel sitting right there. So when I take the ceilings down, all those hot water tubes go away. And quite frankly, they're prone to failure at this point in their age. You're gonna see leaks, you're gonna see a lot of things. So when we take ceilings down, those radiant tubes go away. We have to come up with a different way to heat the rooms. So, if that makes any sense.
I'll take one more question on this school because I know we have lots to go through tonight. But go ahead, Vice President McNeil.
The reason I asked because there's some things that went on before in the other, with the other board. You know, Brownell had a problem with the gym floors, that floor. Is that gonna be some type of repair to that?
That's fixed.
That's already,
ma'am.
and there won't be no more damage to that, okay.
Well, I can't promise you.
You know, that
But it
floor
is
kept
fixed.
buckling, yeah.
It is fixed.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Does anyone have any questions on Brownell or DTM, or not DTM, but Holmes? Those three are just about word for word the same scope.
Okay.
So, this is Holmes for the audience. So now we're going on to DTM. DTM is set at a lower, I guess, is set to a different renovations because of the architecture of the existing building is challenging, I guess would be the best way to say it. So we're looking to spend about $5.5 million at DTM. And that's roof replacement, a secure vestibule, secure entry for the, for safety, replace exterior doors and windows, which are in bad shape, upgrade the PA system so it works, painting corridors and classrooms, and then base a little bit of signage, and that's it. Oh, it's not? Oh, sorry, I'm talking about DTM, excuse me. I said DTM. Yeah. And the major difference is the available funds. This is a second, like, when we talk about renovations, we can only go so far until it triggers other things to happen code-wise.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
So do you work with other similar size or urban districts on this kind of renovation work?
That's all I do.
Okay, so how have they leveraged funds to have more robust renovations at the schools they have? Like, there's bonds obviously, but what have they done creatively to really have the biggest maximized impact on the schools that they have currently open?
I've only seen bonds and ESSER funds maximize or do any major work in any buildings other than a sinking fund, which is, once again, another voted piece that it's a tax-driven thing.
Okay, because the reason I ask, I know in the current state school aid budget, there's an appropriation for like $100 and something million to support facilities like this when it comes to work. So I was just curious if have they used those in the past, but.
I guess I'll lean it over to Gary.
Trustee King?
Oh, wait, Mr. Gary, go ahead.
Yeah, those funds haven't yet been released, and there haven't been recent programs.
So it's a first of its kind?
Yeah, in my 30 years, I have not seen other funds come
Okay.
available.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, through you to our clock construction, Mr. Henderson. So 11.27 talks about the approval of roof replacement projects. So that's basically a start of this, right?
Yes.
And that's not to exceed, that's the budgetary thing, right?
It's a budgetary line item, yes.
Not to exceed, and you'll be able to come back.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions on DTM?
Go ahead.
Southwestern Classical Academy. So we looked at secure entry and vestibule, painting corridors and classrooms, an office renovation. We had some landscaping, some upgrades to the entryway, directional signage, wall graphics, a PA update, replace the gym roof, replace miscellaneous roof areas, and also adding cooling to the gym. This is a very big building, and once again, would be a similar price tag to Northwest when we did that facility assessment. And if we were to do a full renovation of this, it would be like in the range of like $120 million, I guess off the top of my head. So that's what those other, the other low priorities are. We actually have this in the spreadsheet. So, any questions on Southwestern? The building that we're currently in, ALA, we would put in a secure vestibule, new PA systems, we'd paint corridors and classrooms, we'd have an office renovation attached with that secure entryway, we'd renovate the existing office spaces into something else, landscaping upgrades, directional signage, and wall graphics. Okay. And then on I'm going to pop to Eisenhower, then we can talk to both of them. But Eisenhower is a similar scope, other than we're going to replace a ramp on the outside that was told to be not accessible, some concrete work. Are there any questions with either one of those two? And the other cut's the last one on my list. Similar scope as the other two. There should be no, other than we're going to put a secure vestibule in, painting, office renovation, wall graphics, and a new PA system. Any questions on these?
Treasurer Luna.
Trustee Rutherford?
Just looking at the general fund, I just noticed that Nethercutt and Eisenhower, ALA, that money is being pulled out of general fund. Can someone speak to that?
Yes, because we're not touching the rooms.
Because you're not who?
Because we're not touching all the rooms, and the district would like it repainted. We actually carried a budget in for painting, because we're not touching ceilings. They aren't considered ESSER funds. That's the way we see, as the way we understand it. So that's why it's kicked over the general fund. If for some reason it becomes ESSER qualified, then it would kick back, but we don't believe it is.
Okay, help me. So I'm looking at Durantary Mott, painting of corridors and classrooms. That's in ESSER funds. So what's the difference?
Because we're touching the ceilings.
So you not go paint the ceilings?
The difference is because in the other one, DTM, the painting work is ancillary to the required work that's required by ESSER funds. So we're renovating the HVAC system and the sprinkler system, and as a consequence of doing that work, we have to do the painting. So that's why we feel it falls within ESSER, whereas the other schools, we're just painting. It's not a consequence of other work.
So, for example, like, because you're fixing the HVAC, the drop ceiling's gonna be adjusted, so you're gonna have to paint that anyways, so it falls within that, like, height limit.
Yes.
Okay. Any more questions?
I don't see an HVAC on DTM. I just wanted to make sense.
It's because of the PA system. We have to go through and put the PA in. Sorry.
Okay, that helped me out, because I know I'm looking at, okay. So it just has to make sense to me.
And obviously,
Thank
we have to put it through to make sure that, the ESSER, I guess what's the group that,
I just need to make sure general fund has money for the teachers. That's my concern. Thank you.
at the end of the day, we're proposing meaningful projects to Flint to put buildings back together. And I wish I had $350 million, I'd do it all. But at the end of the day, we don't. So we at least can get the federal funds spent before it goes back to the federal government.
it sounds like you're investing the money instead of just spending it. You're making sure the actual safety and the structure of the building is intact, whether there's scholars there today or tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay.
I think the goal of it is to lower your operating costs in those buildings, you know, to have lights that burn cheaper and to have systems that work better. You know, our goal is not to put Band-Aids across your district.
Thank you. Any more questions? All right. Thank you for the presentation.
So I seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 11.26, approval of Phase 2 construction projects to the regular meeting on May 17th for adoption.
Mr. Chair,
Trustee King.
I would like to make a motion to batch 11.26, 11.27 for approval tonight.
Support.
All right, there's been a motion to batch 11.26 and 11.27 for approval tonight. It was made by Trustee King and supported by Vice President McNeil. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, when I call your name, please vote yes or no. Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre.
Yes.
Vice President McNeil.
Yes.
President Clegg.
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford.
Yes.
Trustee King.
Yes.
And myself, Treasurer Luna. The motion passes 7-0. Now, Now on the motion to approve both of these motions tonight, 11.26, 11.27. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, when I call your name, please vote yes or no.
Wait. We did 11.25.
So I'll restate it. I may have spoken too fast.
Yeah.
So we just approved the batch. Now the motion to approve 11.2 and 11.27 tonight
11.26.
is on
2.6 and 2.7.
2.6 and 2.7, yes.
So, point of information.
Yes.
Are you making a new motion to approve it tonight as
That-
opposed
so-
to moving it forward?
Let me redo it.
So Trustee King, go ahead.
Sorry. I make a motion to approve the batch that was for approval tonight.
Okay.
So since sorry, Mr. President, if I can keep going.
Go ahead.
Since I made the motion to batch the two, we have to make a motion to approve the batched items. So I would like to make a motion to approve the batched items tonight.
Tonight.
Tonight. So I'll restate one more time. The motion was to approve 11.26 and 11.27 tonight as a batch, and that's send it to next week's meeting. All right, clear?
Yep.
Any discussion? All right. Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre.
Yes.
Vice President McNeil.
Yes.
President Clegg.
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford.
Yes.
Trustee King.
Yes.
And myself, Treasurer Luna. The vote is 7-0. It is approved. All right. All right, seeing no further business, I declare the Finance and Operations Committee of the Whole meeting adjourned at 8:50. I now turn the floor over to President Clack for the Board Committee of the Whole portion of the agenda.
Okay, I will now call upon Superintendent Jones to present action items to the board.
Okay. I seek a motion. Before I do that, Dr. Joyce, I'm gonna need your support or help with this.
Okay.
Since you are the representative, but I seek a motion and a second from the board to approve Resolution 21.18, consider designation of GISD electoral representative June 5th, 2023, by biennial election tonight, May 10th, 2023.
Support.
Can be a motion.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, let me back up. The next one is for you, Dr. Joyce, not this one. All right, sorry. Forgive me.
Okay.
21.18, consider designation of GISD electoral representative, June 5th, 2023, biennial election.
Support.
You gotta say so moved or make a motion.
Yeah, it's gonna,
So moved.
yeah, it's gonna say support.
I missed that all.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there any discussion?
No?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, could this be explained by who brought this, Mr. Jones?
Woodson.
So the ISD, you know, they've recently lost one of their board members. It's time for their election, and they have considering a designation of electoral representative for the ISD. So it's their time to do that, and we are to participate in that.
Okay.
Yep.
Any more discussion? Okay, seeing none. Seeing no further discussion, the motion to approve Resolution 21.8, consideration of GISD electoral representative, June 5th at the biennial election, will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Assistant Secretary and Treasurer McIntyre.
Yes.
Vice President McNeil.
Yes.
Trustee King.
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford.
Yes.
Treasurer Luna.
Yes.
Myself, President Clegg, is the yes. The motion passes 7-0. Okay, I will now call upon Superintendent Jones to present action items to the board.
I seek a motion and a second from the board to approve Resolution 21.19, GISD Budget Review and Approval 2023-24 tonight, May 10th, 2023.
Support.
Okay, it has been properly moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, seeing there's no discussion, to be conducted by a roll call vote to approve Resolution 21.9, the GISD Budget Review and Approval for 2023 and 2024, tonight, May 10th, 2023. Whoops, did I read it
Roll
wrong?
call. Yeah,
I'm
you're
sorry.
right. You're
All right, I'm sorry, forgive me. Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Assistant Secretary, Treasurer McIntyre.
Yes.
Vice President McNeil.
Yes.
Trustee King.
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford.
Yes.
Treasurer Luna.
Yes.
Myself, President Clack, I vote yes. The vote motion passes 7-0. Okay, I will call on Superintendent Jones again to present action items to the board.
I seek a motion and a second from the board to approve Resolution 21.20, approval of school calendar tonight, May 10th, 2023.
Support.
Okay, is there any discussion?
I make a motion to approve 21.20.
Support.
Okay, it has properly been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing no further discussion, the motion to approve Resolution 21.20, approval of school calendar, will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I say your name, please say yes or no to approve this action. Secretary Perkins. Excuse me.
Yes.
Assistant Secretary and Treasurer McIntyre.
Yes.
Vice President McNeil.
Yes.
Trustee King.
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford.
Yes.
Treasurer Luna.
Yes.
Myself, President Clack, I vote yes. The motion passes 7-0. Okay, once again,
I seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 21.21, Flint Board of Education schedule of regular board meetings for 2023-2024 to the regular board meeting on May 17th for adoption.
Mr. Chair,
yes.
I make a motion to approve 21.21.
Support.
Support. Okay, it has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I do.
Okay, I'm sorry, who was first?
He was
He
first.
can go.
Okay,
Oh, well, my
Treasurer Luna.
My question was, I know a few months ago, we talked about like kind of doing like a tour of where we have our meetings at, so I just wanted to say that could be nice if we had like a DTM or homes or, whoops. But anyways, all I said was that it'd be nice if we could change some of these meetings around at different locations in the
Agreed.
district at some point.
Okay, Trustee King.
I concur with Treasurer Luna. I think we need to move around into different buildings, whether it's hosting an auditorium of sound. But we do need to move around and be in the district, so those parents of that area, if they walk, if they want to come, they can be able to be there. From my experience, moving around, whether we highlight, excuse me, some of our scholars doing that, quote-unquote tour, we can call it, to each school, that'd be nice for the principal to, I've experienced this from my past as a student rep on Carmen School Board. So when they moved around, the principal was able to acknowledge some of the scholars and the work that's being done. And it's nice to showcase some of the good that's happening inside of our Flint schools. I think it would be nice. I think we could probably talk about this later on. But I vote to approve it. But I do want us to move around a little bit. I think we should do all things necessary to move around instead of staying stagnant.
I agree. Is there any more discussion?
Yeah.
Vice President McNeil?
Those are great ideas, but also we have to keep in mind that we do live stream here and making sure that those different schools have the capacity to do that, as well as do we have everything we need to do that. I really believe that that is a great idea. We're in the midst of renovation. I think that we should, after we get started, let me say, hey, Doe Rider or different schools that we're renovating, cleaning them up and getting them in place where people feel comfortable and coming into our school district, getting the parking lot. So I'm good with you talking about that. I have heard different district does that, but keeping in mind the technology available, and we have to check with Steve to make sure that that school can accommodate. But it's a great idea.
I do have one concern, just because I know what it takes. I do videos and sound myself. I know that Steve would need to have time in advance to know where he's gonna go to get his sound equipment to the location of where we're gonna go. So that's just my only concern, is that we approve this and let him know in advance where we're gonna go, so he can get his equipment there, or at least we can scout the location and see if they have proper acoustics in the auditorium, and he's able to, if they have smart boards, or however we can do presentations. So
Yeah.
it's my only concern.
Mr.
Vice
Chair.
President King. I'm sorry, Trustee King.
Trustee. Through you to Superintendent Jones, will that be feasible for us to move around? Because I remember watching last year's video, you had a finance cow I think it was at the admin building, and the sound was okay. But is that feasible for you and the tech team?
I think we need to have some discussion about that.
Too.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, seeing no further discussion, the motion to move Resolution 21.221, the Flint Board of Education schedule regular board meetings for 2023 and 2024 to the regular board meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Secretary Perkins?
Yes.
Assistant Secretary Treasurer McIntyre?
Yes.
Vice President McNeil?
Yes.
Trustee King?
Yes.
Trustee Relaford?
Yes.
Treasurer Luna?
Yes.
Myself, President Clegg, I vote yes. The motion passes by 7-0. Okay, I will now call on Superintendent Jones again to address the present action item to the board.
I seek a motion and a second from the board to approve Resolution 21.22, Schools of Choice Plan, Section 105, tonight on May 10th, 2023.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, it has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Who said that?
Me, President Clegg.
Okay, I'm sorry, Trustee Relaford.
What is it? Can y'all explain that?
Yes.
Thank you.
So, by law, legislation has been passed for scholars to have a period where they can choose what district they want to go in. And this is us, following that law. And so, scholars do not have to live in our zip code and go to our schools, and they have a certain amount of time to do that. So every district has to go through this process.
Okay.
So we haven't been doing that?
We just have to renew this.
You have to do it every year.
Just have to do it every year.
So why doesn't it say renewal?
Is it more a compliance thing?
Yeah.
I just want to know, why doesn't it say renewal? That's all I'm asking.
Well, it's not so much of a
Okay, so don't say
contract.
the word renewal. So what are we doing?
You're approving the Schools of Choice Plan, Section 105 tonight.
For what reason? If we're already doing it and it's not a renewal.
It has to be done every year.
So,
Just say annual.
Mr. President,
Yes, Treasurer Luna.
so for example, through you to Trustee Relaford, so there's a thing called McKinney Vento that every school district, every PSA has to approve every year. And honestly, it's like 20, 30 things at one board meeting, usually in June or May sometimes, but we just have to comply with state and federal standards. So it's not a renewal, it's just us saying that we're gonna comply with that specific law of statute.
So would it be better if we said, instead of him saying renewal, he said annual?
I guess for me, McKinney-Vento is for transportation. I'm very familiar with that. But this right here, when I'm reading Schools of Choice Plan, and we had a scholar that was accused of doing something very, very violently, but due to their address, we were told that they had to attend our schools. So now when I see schools of choice, I need some understanding, because either we're following it or we're not. That's concerning to me, Superintendent Jones.
So there's a time frame where scholars have a choice to choose what school they go to. And if it's outside of that time frame, you have to return to your district.
Okay, so with that being said, schools of choice, the school have a right to refuse them, correct?
Under certain criteria.
Do they have a right to refuse them? Yes or no?
Under certain criteria.
That's a yes?
Yes.
Okay. I'm done. No further questions.
Okay, is there any more discussion? Assistant Secretary McIntyre?
Yeah, so just, this is kind of where we as a board, we've got a responsibility and a duty, but we also have the confines of the state and federal laws, and which are not really favorable to public schools. I mean, we're not given the same considerations that so-called public charter schools are given, but we have even more responsibilities. So in a way, we can't deny students under, as Superintendent Jones said, under extreme circumstances. And we have an obligation to teach everybody. And so at the end of the day, what the other school districts don't pick off, or the charter schools don't pick off, you know, that's obligated by law. We're obligated to do that. And that's the way it's set up. I mean, so one of the things about education that I've been grappling with is that it really needs to be changed from the top down, right? We can only do so much as a board. But we have a responsibility to society, and if we believe in public education and taking care of our citizens and all that kind of stuff, you know, public health care and all that kind of stuff. So right here, the school board is dealing with public education, and our hands are tied. We know that Michigan especially has been the proving grounds for the DeVos family and for pushing schools of choice and charter schools, and we're trying to do the best that we can as a public school system and as a community. So I guess what I want to say is we can do what we can under the constraints that we have, but we also have to be fighting back on the state and on the federal level if we want public education. Because we still have, I keep bringing up the Financial Emergency Manager Act. We've got to get rid of that, because under that you can take over municipalities and you can take over school districts. And we saw what happened in a couple of school districts in Michigan, like Benton Harbor, where you have your school district eliminated. Public charter schools come swooping in, and then they decide they're not making enough money, and they take off again, and they leave the community with the task of educating the public. So like once a charter school leaves, we've got to come back in. So again, we have all of the responsibility and not all of the advantages. So sorry, that was a long-winded way of answering your question. You know, it's a kind of an untenable situation, Trustee Relaford, and I agree with your concern, but on the other hand, you know, it's more of a state and a federal thing that we're going to have to come together as a community and deal with as well.
President Clegg?
Yes, ma'am.
I
Trustee
just want to
Relaford.
respond. We can refuse to participate in that.
No, you can't.
Because Grand Blanc is opting out next year. Just a thought.
Do you have more to, I guess I don't understand what you're saying. Do you have more information?
I was just, when the situation happened a couple weeks ago, I just started reading, you know, because of the extenuation circumstances for that student, why would we allow that student in our district? And when I read the rationale of an address, it came up, schools of choice, and someone said we weren't involved in that. So that was my question. That's why I asked Superintendent Jones that.
Treasurer Luna?
So,
I'm sorry, were you?
I'm not sure. I don't have the paperwork in front of me, so I don't know off my head, but I'll get it to you.
I'm sorry, Trustee Rutherford. Are you finished?
Mr. President, through you to Mr. Jones, if we weren't to not being compliant with the state of Michigan, would that put our district at risk under current statute with our 31A funds and also our base pupil amount?
Well, I'd like to do a little bit more research on what I just heard about, because it might be something that just taken place that I don't know about. So I can get you all the information, but this is all of Genesee County is participating in this. As far as I know, the consortium of superintendents have not raised anything different than what we currently know.
Okay, is there any more discussion? Okay, seeing no further discussion, the motion to approve resolution 21.22, School of Choice Plan, Section 105, will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Secretary Perkins?
Yes.
Assistant Secretary Treasurer McIntyre?
Yes.
Vice President McNeil?
Yes.
Trustee King?
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford?
What are we voting on? I'm sorry.
The School of Choice Plan?
No.
Treasurer Luna?
Yes.
Myself, President Clegg, have no choice but yes. Motion passes 6-1. Okay, Superintendent Jones, please proceed with the information items regarding teacher compensation and school closures.
Those are not mine.
So, Mr. President, I requested those items to be added to the agenda.
Okay, Treasurer Luna?
Yeah, so when I requested these items to be added to the agenda, I think school closures, consolidations going hand in hand with increasing compensation. I think they both take time, but can be done in a good and expedient manner. So I think an appropriate, and I want to make sure this is done correctly, so if my wording is wrong, let me know. My understanding is we don't have to reopen our contracts to allow your administration to negotiate with the UTF to restore STEP. And if I'm wrong, let me know. I don't want to expose us to any liability, or I had the wrong wording.
So I think it's important to understand that we'll be opening something,
Okay.
right? So if we're going to talk about any financial changes, we're going to be negotiating. Okay?
Okay.
So to not open the contract, what are we then opening?
I would just say authorized.
I'm sorry, I didn't need you to answer it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
the conversation, we are not having the conversation currently with the teachers union. That is the issue for us being able to move something forward. We've talked about calendars, but the board has not determined to move with the demand to bargain that was given. And you don't have to move with that demand to bargain, but if you would like the administration and the lead negotiator to start having conversations with the teachers union, I would just need the board to.
Okay, so conversation is different than real. Okay. So I'll make a motion that we allow. Sorry.
Wait a minute.
Can we,
Okay, Assistant Treasurer McIntyre?
can I just answer your
Yeah.
question, and then we can, okay, so let me break it down a little bit. So when we entered into the contract with the
June.
teachers union
June?
in last June?
Yes.
Okay,
We
and it's up until, and it goes till 2024?
I think it's 25.
25?
Yeah.
Sorry about that, okay.
Yeah.
So what happened was we gave them step increases. Now, it was, and we tried to work with their hard caps, with the insurance hard caps. So at that point, we have a negotiated contract. And there were components in it, like the calendar and some other things that we were due to bring up to renegotiate under the condition that nothing else was brought up. I mean, this is just part of the negotiation process. It's part of the legal stuff. And, you know, we're not even really supposed to be talking about the negotiation process, but there's been so much information. I'm just like getting tired of this, you know? So the teachers union has requested formally with the letter that we've all gotten to reopen the contract, because we can't talk about salaries and those things without reopening the contract, which is going to expire in 2025. The only things that we can talk about, there are prohibited subjects, it goes on and on. The only things we can talk about were the calendar, and
President
oh,
Clegg.
I'm sorry, and the calendar, and I forgot some of the other things, like I don't have all my notes in. But in order to talk about the salaries, you have to reopen the you just have to. Now, individual board members should not be talking to the union. I mean, this would be violating the negotiation practice. Like, we have negotiation teams that should be talking to their negotiation teams. Otherwise, we could be argued that we're not negotiating in good faith. And we really are, we're trying to, but it gets messy if people start talking to one another and stuff.
President Clegg.
So what we need to do is we have a letter from the teachers union requesting that the board reopen the contract. Now, I've made a proposal, and I don't know how we're gonna do this because it got voted down by this board, that we consider and reopen the teacher's contract so that we can start that process, because we all agree the teachers need to be compensated. We've gotten the hard caps worked on, but it's not enough. And in order to do that, we would have to take action as a board. And what we've done, which has probably really irritated the teachers union, is send them a cease and desist letter, right? So they can't bring it up and talk about it. So it's on our shoulders, if this ever gets done or anything gets done, that we've got to make a motion and bring it up and reopen the contract. It's not something that can be done. I already made a motion and it got voted down, so I don't know, and I'm not a parliamentary procedure expert, as everybody knows, so I don't know. Somebody who voted it down can make a reconsideration, or has there been too much time that's passed? Because whatever we have to do, I say we do it, and I say we do it now. I'm not quite sure what that is, but we have to reopen the contract if that's what we want to do. But we have to take action as an entire board.
So, Mr. President,
Treasurer Luna.
I thought I
I'm
was
hearing.
next.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
apologize.
I'm sorry. Trustee Rutherford.
Without, I guess for me President Clegg to, Laura. During the debt elimination phase, teachers gave concessions. And in that concession, in that contract, once the district was no longer in the debt elimination program, they were supposed to begin to be restored. This does not affect all teachers. That is why opening up negotiations was never a part of the conversation, because it was already agreed upon. So when I had the conversation for clarification, I wanted a number. I asked for a number, and the number was $1.5 million for restoration. That was not a negotiation. That was what the restoration of those teachers that participated in the debt elimination concessions that they gave up. So with the 1.5 million, that is what is needed. So my goal tonight was to have the discussion about all the buildings, all the millions of dollars that we approved for the buildings, to see what the energy was gonna be like when it came time to vote for teachers' compensation. So according to my conversations, and they're out and they're looking at me. There was no negotiation needed to restore the teachers. And that figure is 1.5 million, which can come out of the general fund. And that can be moved into a unique fund only for the teachers' increase, only. That's what this board can do tonight. Since we can approve buildings, renovations, and all the above, why can't we do the teachers tonight also? So that is why I'm saying what I'm saying to you. That was exactly, and I read it inside of the contract with the teachers' concessions.
Okay. All right, Treasurer Luna.
Yeah, and I want to be clear too. For any motion that I vote for tonight, I'd like to tie it to also building closure as well. I'm not sure what that motion looks like when it comes to the compensation part. I'm not sure what that number is when it comes to how many buildings that need to be closed, if it's 2, 3, 5, but if you say 2, 3, it needs to be coupled with a reduction in operational costs, or I'll vote no.
Okay. Wait a minute. No,
Yeah.
okay.
So,
Trustee,
so
Laura?
see, here's the problem. So we've got a board that talks a lot about restoring teachers, but when it comes down to it, it's contingent on putting fences around buildings,
all.
closing down buildings. No, this is something that has to be done
That's for the teachers.
irregardless of anything else. It shouldn't be contingent on
And it's
anything.
not.
The teachers, I agree with you. Let's take that 1.5 million. Now, what I think should happen is that we need to have a closed-door session with Timothy Gardner, who's been our chief negotiator, to get the legal, like, nuts and bolts, to see exactly what we can do and what we can't do, and, you know, to get that legal opinion. But we've got to have the will to do that. And I hear a lot of talk about making the teachers whole and giving them money again. But when it comes down to it, who's stopping it? Right?
Let's go.
No,
Let's
it's
make a
not
motion.
me. It is
Wait a minute,
not.
we can't address the crowd. We can't address the
Okay,
audience. We
so
can't-
I make
we
a
can't address the
motion
audience.
that we have a special meeting as soon as possible. We take a doodle poll, we find out as soon as possible, we have a special committee meeting of the whole, or whatever it would be called, to meet with Troon, with Gardner, and to see what we can do, and to open, well, if whatever, restore, open, whatever it is that we have to do to bring the teachers back and make them whole again from whatever they've given up.
I wasn't finished. But I let her-
Support.
I wasn't finished. I was letting her respond. I wanted this on this. So I want to make a motion that 1.5 million be taken out of the general funds and set aside for teacher restoration tonight.
Support.
Support.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Mr. King, Treasurer King.
You,
Hold on. Can we
I-
try to
I
keep
wanna
the
make
noise
sure
down in
I'm
the back,
clear.
please?
so there's no watch, there's no, you're not supporting teachers. I want to make sure I'm real clear with this. The 1.5 million is supposed to restore the teachers that took the pay cut, right? To who? Well, that's what someone just.
The motion is so vague. I don't know what the motion is. It's so
Okay,
vague.
wait a minute. Okay, well, wait a
So,
minute.
Mr. Chair, through
Yes,
you.
sir. Yes, sir.
Just yes or no. I just want to understand. Because trustee made a comment and said it was to restore the teachers that made the concessions, right? So this is to restore those teachers that made the concessions.
Okay,
Now,
wait a
she-
minute, wait a minute. We
she-
gotta wait your
okay.
turn, please. Wait a
Yeah,
minute.
that was the statement made in the beginning. I just want to verify before I make another statement.
Okay, can we,
So, through
wait a
you-
minute, wait a minute. Can we keep order in here, please? Wait a minute. Let him finish.
Through you to trustee Rutherford, I want to make sure I'm understanding her motion. Can she answer that question, Mr. President?
Okay, trustee Rutherford.
He wasn't talking, who you talking to me?
Yeah.
What you say?
So you want, okay. All right, let me,
Okay, can you repeat that,
I'm
please?
gonna make it clear. With our board, school closures was supposed to happen before our board. Way before our board. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't see this board closing schools no time soon because it's hard to get folks to talk about selling vacant properties because of generational wealth. I don't see it. I'm being really honest here. I can't vote for something like that because I know this board won't be fiscally responsible, and I hope I'm proven wrong. But from what I'm seeing, like you need a consolidation plan because with the HR, on the HR list, them personnel recommendations are mostly resignations and retirements. And I believe probably next meeting when we have the same thing, there's gonna be more. We haven't done, we and prior haven't done any school closures. None. You can't be fiscally responsible, but you have 11 buildings with 2,900 kids stretched out. Let me make sure I'm clear. I will vote for school closures first before teacher compensation because I fear our board won't do school closures because I want you to understand to our board members, to my board members, once you restore one union, another one's coming and the other one is coming. So you better be fiscally prepared to not only give one union restoration, you got Congress, SEIU. I just want to make sure we understand what we're getting into. You restore one, better restore them all, because it won't be fair.
Mr. President.
I'm not finished.
Sorry.
So
My apologies.
I would simply ask the board, I would agree with, never thought I'd say that, but I agree with Trustee McIntyre about having that closed door conversation first with our attorney, so we know what we're doing first. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't see us closing schools. Some people voting for schools.
Okay,
Close, I don't see it, but that's it for me. Thanks.
Treasurer Luna.
Mr. President, I make a motion that the administration offers a plan that closes 3 to 5 schools by the June regular board meeting.
We already in a motion.
We have a motion on the floor.
We got a motion on the floor.
So could you restate the motion then, please?
The motion is to set aside $1.5 million for teachers into a unique fund.
Mr.
That's the motion.
Point of information.
I guess, can I finish?
Yeah, hold on.
So that's the motion. I'm not sure where closures, it's all of a sudden, as long as we was agreeing, that's why I agreed, because I wanted you all to see where the hiccups would come in at. All of a sudden, who, what, when, where, why, how, and why not. We talking about $1.5 million for teachers. Why is there all this discussion?
I answer point of
Wait
information.
a minute.
I had point of information first.
Go ahead,
So,
Treasurer Luna.
my first point of information is this. We had 2 motions on the floor that are both seconded. Hers was first, hers was second. Pay attention, everybody. Number 2, I'm talking. Number 2, number 2.
Can we keep order, please?
I'm talking. Thank you. Number 2, let me be 100% clear. My primary job on this board is to make sure it's financially solvent so there is a district to pay teachers. I've been saying since day one, if we don't reduce operational expenses, I'm not voting for an increase. We can do both at the same time. The union said it. 4 of us on this board who ran for it together said it. Look it up on social media. If you got it in your front door still as a memento, we talked about closing buildings and making the hard choices, 4 of us up here did, but also empowering teachers and restoring their pay. Look it up. It's in a hard copy. Not here to pander, here to make tough but the good decisions for the district. And that does include supporting teachers' pay, but also closing buildings. And they can go hand in hand. Just like we said, teachers multitask, this board can multitask. We can be here all night, trying to vote people out of the vice presidentship, remove me as treasurer, talk about how adults doing this, adults doing that. Let's do the real business. We can be here up to 2 o'clock. If we can solve it or make a move tonight, I'm here for it. But let's have an honest, thorough debate and discussion. It's been 5 months with this board. Let's do it. We spent 1 hour and 30 minutes on the field trip. That's not gonna happen a month ago. Let's talk about teacher pay and building closure tonight.
Okay, Trustee King.
I want to make sure this is clear because I guess the popular thing, right, is to restore teachers' pay. It sounds good, right? It is good. However, this board and the financial thing that we have, issue that we have, and we're going to have that no one's talking about, is the resignations and the retirements. There will be literally not enough qualified, certified teachers in classrooms. And it's May. It is May and we haven't closed any schools.
It should happen in October, sorry.
It should, right, I agree. I support teachers, I substitute teach, I understand what the role of teachers are. But, like I say, it sounds good and it is good to support restoring teachers, but fiscally responsible, look at what we're doing. The stuff we approved tonight is mostly coming out of ESSER funds. That is ESSER fund, that's a grant money, that's not general fund money, so it's not like we got so much money to give out. No, we don't. We just don't. So I want to make sure I'm clear. I support it. However, we haven't done nothing fiscally responsible. We keep giving out money, but there is nothing, there's nothing that we're getting in. We have 40-plus properties, that's draining operational costs, and we haven't did nothing. There are some things in there paid by general, like that's small and minute, but most of these things that we're doing, projects we're doing, is not general fund most of the time. It's either grants that our district is heavily granted, blended in some areas. That's all I'm trying to make that understanding, because we can say we're gonna increase this, but we're not gonna do our financial responsibility to make sure we solve it and right.
We tore down Washington School
So,
real quick.
You out of order.
Oh, I speak to Washington School. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen. And as soon as that lawsuit come, that's about 2.5 plus $2.5 million because we neglected to do our role.
Don't say
I
we.
wanna
We
hear
were
it.
here in 2021. She was.
Well, I'm sorry. People neglected their role.
Hey, Treasurer Luna, you can't.
I'm
come on,
just
man.
saying,
It's
Mr. President, I'm making sure I'm clear. I will be voting no, because we have not done the financially things beforehand, which is school closures and right-size this district. You hear when people come up and talk, they tell you need a consolidation plan. Have that plan been done? No, we haven't. That's it for me.
Treasurer Luna.
So let me be clear too about this too. We voted that down about 3 months ago to reopen negotiations fully with the UTF. That requires a vote to rescind, which requires 5 out of 7 votes of the current board. So it sounds like there should be some negotiations on this board in public about how we responsibly do that. Again, we can do both
Call the question.
simultaneously.
Okay. I got point information.
Because I will vote no.
Point
It's by
information.
itself.
What's your point?
We're not opening up negotiations. This is setting aside $1.5 million in unique funds specifically to increase teachers. That's what this is.
Mr. President, point of
So
information.
can we vote? Because this is just redundant.
Treasurer Luna.
Again, there's 2 motions on the floor. She made a motion first, she seconded it. We're on her motion.
I withdraw my motion.
Okay, so
one motion
Assistant,
on the floor.
I got you.
Okay.
So Assistant Secretary McIntyre withdrew her
Yeah, I
motion. Okay, were you finished? Okay, Ms. McIntyre.
So
Trustee McIntyre, I'm sorry.
through the president to Trustee Luna, Treasurer Luna, I would like an explanation of the job, the day job that you have, and your connections to the Chamber of Commerce and to the business community. I would like you to disclose any conflict of interest that you have, and also your,
Point of information. How was that germane to what we're talking about here?
and I, it's,
Point of information.
and you need to,
Point of information.
Mr. President, I'll
disclose your campaign
No,
contributions.
wait a minute.
answer.
Point of
I'll answer.
information.
I'll answer.
No. I didn't
No.
give you the floor. Wait a minute. What does that have to do with what we're doing right now?
I thought we had a motion.
Mr. President.
What does his day job have to do with what we're doing right now, which is talking about their pay? How is that germane to what we have going
Because
on right
he's
here?
talking about closing buildings and development, and he has a occupation that is either potentially or could be perceived as a conflict of interest, and he's never answered that question.
Mr. President.
He's never. Okay, wait a minute. Treasurer Luna, go ahead.
So like,
This is.
so to my colleagues and to the folks in the audience and the people watching, we're here to make decisions. She's making it about me and not about these students and these teachers and these kids. My day job, let me be clear. My day job, which I love, but before that I was a teacher, my day job is to bring capital and investment and good paying jobs into the entire county and community so we have good public schools, better roads, and better parks. There is no conflict of interest, and my campaign finance files are on genesee.gov. Look it up, every last one of them. Again, this is a weak distraction from an old senior colleague who has caused, by in part, our CFO to leave and other senior staff who are all black African-American women because she can't control herself and learn how to treat people with respect and dignity. Don't let the pandering be a distraction. Again, I'm here to do a job, and I made very clear back in March when I announced, make hard choices, but also pay teachers. And guess what? Some of those hard choices include school closures. And if this board won't do it, somebody come in and do it on our behalf, whether it be the state or somebody else. But we can do it right now because we are democratically elected people by you, the public. So it's a ridiculous ploy to distract us.
Yes, ma'am. Vice President McNeil.
Now, we're on 22.8, right? Teacher conversation. This is where we at, right?
Yes.
We all the way, we done jumped down to 22.9, back to 22.8. We have to stay true to this agenda. There's a motion on the floor regarding what Trustee Relevant said. We done taken that motion and create all kind of chaos at it. And opinions and opinion, everybody got one. But the issue is we're at 22.8. Motion is on the floor. We don't have any more discussion. Then we need to move towards the vote, if that's okay. Am I making sense?
Superintendent Jones.
I would just like to know, this number that's out here, this 1.5 million, is this one time? Or is this,
It's right now.
is this one time? Or is this going to continue every year?
We asked for one time, sir.
It's one
Wait a
time.
minute.
Nobody asked anything
So
else.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
He asked a
Wait a
question.
minute. Okay, wait.
Y'all always try to just,
Superintendent asked a question.
Just
This is
what
one
Right.
time.
I answered it for him.
We just asked
Okay,
for
could
one
you state
time.
the
I
answer
think
again,
that's
please?
what she
I didn't.
His question is this for one time? I was given the 1.5, and that's what I'm asking for, 1.5 million to go into an account specifically for teachers' salary increase.
So point of information, Mr. President.
Yes, sir. What's your
Mr.
point?
Jones. So would this be a one-time stipend for this current
It's not a
calendar
stipend.
year? Or would this be a $1.5 million of ongoing annual expenses?
Okay.
I know it's steps, right? So it's ongoing every year, right?
So let me
That's
just
not what
ask
we
real
asked
quick.
for.
This is not a stipend, correct? This
That
is
ain't what I
taking-
said. If go by what I said.
So let me
A
make. let me-
$1.5 million put into an account specifically for teacher salary. That's all I asked, nothing else. That's all I'm asking for right now. That's the motion.
On the floor.
Please don't convolute it.
Okay.
Okay. So is
Are we
there any
ready
more
for the
discussion?
Mr. President, I want to make an amendment to the motion.
Okay. Treasurer Luna.
So I've heard a lot of different things said tonight that seem to be conflicting, whether it be data, how much this is, if it's ongoing or one-time spending, because if you increase someone's step, that's an ongoing expense that goes year by year. Two, the amendment is to do this, because I feel like it's legal based upon what I heard. I make an amendment to her motion to authorize, hold on, I'm talking.
Wait a minute.
Trustee.
Let's stay in order. Can we be respectful? Trustee Relaford. Go ahead.
I make an amendment to the motion to authorize the administration to begin conversations with the UTF on compensation increase in regards to steps.
Wait a
He
minute.
can't change my
Discussion.
motion.
Wait a minute. He made an amendment to the.
I
he
made an
tried to
amendment
make
to that
an amendment
motion.
to the motion.
So now we're in discussion.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
I'll add something. I think allowing the administration to begin these conversations with the UTF so we have the right numbers, we know what they want, we know what we can do, and we can move this forward in a responsible way is the best thing to do it. And I want it to happen as soon as possible. This conversation, this discussion could take a week, a day, it could take an hour, I don't know. But I know it's a lot quicker than doing a whole contract reopening, but also it's responsible than just saying, I want to put $1.5 million into a special account from which general fund, and is that an ongoing thing for their step restoration? I don't know. She hasn't explained it to my colleague, so
Okay,
that's my amendment.
my question, would that be something that we would have to go into a closed session about?
No, I just asked for $1.5 million to be set aside for teachers' compensation.
Okay, so
Period.
your amendment would have to go into closed session, correct?
Through you,
He's
Mr.
just
Jones.
stalling, that's all, he's just stalling.
So
As I stated earlier, and I agree with Trustee McIntyre and Trustee King, you need to talk to your attorney so that you're doing the right thing. I don't understand why we can't do that, so we're making the right decisions. No one is saying not to do anything, but I think we need to make the right decisions, and I don't think it's clear that when you make a decision to put a pot of money somewhere, that that's not going to continue and continue and continue. Once you add to salaries, you're going to have to keep that up every year. So otherwise it's a stipend, or it's something you're paying one time. So I don't know what those numbers look like. We don't have a CFO. There's things that we have to consider before we make the move. No one is saying not to make a move, but I think we should choose wise counsel before this move is made.
Okay, is there Secretary Perkins?
Trustee Rutherford, can you maybe hold off on that until we talk to the attorney?
No,
No,
no, we just put $1.5 million aside.
one time.
Right, that was the conversation. I'm not sure where all this, we didn't have all this dialogue when they was talking about painting the building. But now we want to just have surgery, when we just setting money aside to make sure they're compensated before 2024. Can we vote?
So, Mr. President, I'll restate
There you go.
the vote on the floor. I made an amendment that was supported by my colleague, Trustee King. The amendment to her motion was to authorize Superintendent Jones.
Wait a minute. Let's be respectful. That's Trustee Rutherford. Okay, Trustee Rutherford, let's not say her.
Could you repeat that?
Let's be respectful of her position. She's a trustee.
Oh, no,
Let's not say her, but you said her.
I'm sorry, to my colleague, Trustee
Okay.
Rutherford. I apologize. I made an amendment to her motion, to my colleague, Trustee Rutherford, to authorize the superintendent and to have conversations with the UTF on step restoration. That's the amendment on the floor right now. We can vote it up or down.
Okay. Is there any more discussion?
I guess,
Trustee Rutherford?
how can he amend my motion? You can't amend my motion, you make your own.
Just vote.
Can we vote on, I just, no.
So we're just gonna vote on what he just amended.
Okay, can you-
Trustee Dillon just amended.
Okay,
right?
can you please state the motion one more time for the people in the audience and
So-
for myself?
The amendment to the original motion was to authorize the superintendent to begin conversations on step restoration with the UTF.
Okay, everybody good with that?
Call the vote.
Okay. Please say yes or no to approve this motion. Secretary hold on. Secretary Perkins.
No.
Okay, Assistant Secretary McIntyre.
No.
Vice President McNeil.
No.
Treasurer Luna.
Yes.
Trustee King.
Yes?
Trustee Rutherford.
No,
Okay, and myself, President Clegg, yes. The vote passes, or
fails.
fails, I'm sorry. Okay. 4 no, 3 yes. Okay. Okay.
My
so
original motion.
The original motion, can you please restate that for everybody and myself?
The original motion is to set aside $1.5 million into a unique account specifically for teachers' increase.
Okay,
Today, tomorrow,
One time?
one time.
one time.
One time, one time. $1.5 million set aside for teachers' salary in a unique fund.
Okay, is everyone good with the motion? We all remember the motion? All right, I'm not gonna remember this time. Thank you, okay. Secretary Perkins,
Yes.
Assistant Secretary McIntyre,
Yes.
Vice President McNeil,
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford,
Yes?
Trustee King,
No.
Treasurer Luna.
No.
Okay, myself, President Clegg, I'll vote yes.
Thank you.
All right, so it passes 5 yes,
2 no.
2 no. All right,
President Clark?
yes, Assistant Secretary McIntyre.
So I make a motion that we have a special meeting as soon as possible. We poll each other and get one as soon as possible with all deliberate speed, as they say, to meet with Troon Law Firm and Attorney Gardner to discuss whether we have to reopen the contract, what our legal issues are, given that he is our negotiating counsel. And
Support.
Support.
Okay, is there any discussion? Any discussion? All right, please say yes or no when I conduct this roll call vote to approve Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Okay, Treasurer Luna,
Yes.
Assistant Secretary Treasurer McIntyre,
yes.
Trustee Rutherford,
Yes?
Trustee King,
Yes.
Vice President McNeil,
Yes.
myself, President Clegg, I vote yes. Motion passes 7-0. Okay,
Schools closure.
okay, moving on to 22.9, school closures.
Mr. President,
Treasurer Luna.
I make a motion that we request the superintendent bring us a plan by next scheduled board meeting, which would be, I believe, June.
Mr. Jones? Do you have something?
He's in the middle of a motion, so I can't say anything
So
yet.
I'll word it properly. I make a motion that we ask Superintendent Jones to bring us a plan by the next regular board meeting in June, where we close 3 to 5 school buildings.
Mr. Jones?
That's too big of
I can't say anything
Oh,
until
okay,
you have a second.
I can't support that. Is anyone gonna? I can't support 3 to 5 buildings being closed at one time.
That's wrong.
Is there? Yes, sir. Trustee King.
Well, I'm sorry, you gotta finish the dice for a lack.
That's for
Okay,
lack.
that's for lack. Okay, Trustee King. Well, I'm sorry. He was.
Go ahead.
Mr. Jones was first.
So you already voted for Plant Moran Cressa
Thank you.
to start the 5 to 10 year plan. The next board meeting was not what we agreed to. So we're in the midst of working with Plant Moran Cressa to work on the 5 to 10 year plan. Plant Moran Cressa is going to come back to the board at the end of June to discuss this. That was a part of the 6-month plan.
Okay.
So I would say that we're doing the right process now to get to a vision for the future for Flint. And so I would wait until we have that.
Understood.
That's just my,
Vice President McNeil.
Yes, and to my colleague, Trustee Dillon, those type of closing require a workshop. You'll have Plant Moran in, you have your feasibility study. That is a process. It can happen within a week or two. June would be a good time that we start working on workshops anyway. Looking at doing a couple of workshops, because there's another workshop that we need to also be doing, which is on governance as well as looking at our policy. So I just think that these are good topics for June, and you're 100%, we do need to start the closing. When we tried to close Pierce last year, they had the people to come in to attack us. They didn't want Pierce closed. We could have closed Pierce last year. but now we just gonna have to go back through this process and work through it and see what we can close and what we're not going to close, and that requires a workshop. And we can be doing a lot of workshop in June, because that's when everything's kind of quiet down, the district is quiet, and we got quite a few things to do. So why don't we just look at sending something out to, through our executive administrator when they get to Plant Moran, and set the workshop up with, and then let's start from there. We just can't set close 3 to 5 schools, and we have not did the necessary requirement to do that.
Okay, any,
Mr. Chair,
And it's just discussion, I think, that's all we
Yeah,
got
just
right. Okay,
discussion.
thanks.
yeah, Trustee King.
I can agree to wait on that Plant Moran thing, but I want to be clear. We have a tendency to prolong things. This cannot be prolonged, because if when the first start of the school year and we don't have certified teachers in front of scholars, we're going to have a problem. Not just from parents. State, that's going to be an issue. We still going to have 11 buildings. If we have 11 buildings in the beginning of our next school year, we're not going to have enough certified teachers in front of scholars. So I want to make it clear. I hope we can call special meetings to do the right necessary, the work that requires, because I only can see this resignations and retirement list getting longer and longer each meeting. And this is not going to work. So I just want to make it clear. I would recommend that we constantly have special meetings in June. You know, get ready to put your bootstraps on, whatever you want to do. But we need to have meetings and make the hard decisions, because we won't have enough certified teachers. I can't express it enough.
Point of
Because
information.
people would say, you know,
What's your point?
No, I'm sorry, I was thinking, but let him finish what I did want to say. I'm sorry.
you know, we could talk about, you know, all the other stuff, but the main important decision that would be financially is building closures. You have other districts that have roughly around the same number, and they operate in 6, 7 buildings, and we have 11, unheard of. So that's all. I just want to make it clear that to my colleagues, I'm all for having special meetings, doing the necessary work when it comes to doing that, because we won't be financially responsible. And I hope my colleagues would indulge in that and not prolong work. Thanks.
Okay. But he was next. Did you didn't have a point of information?
If you want to go,
Okay,
I
Trey.
Well, no, I just want to piggyback on what he said, and you're 100% right. When you have those meetings as a board as a whole, we have those workshops, you only need like, if 4 show, we still will have to go through it. So we needed 4 people to show up at these workshops, because during June, and sometimes you're gonna be here twice a week, because Plant Moran, it's a lot of work into closing the school. It's a lot, and we have to have the superintendent, plus we don't have the other necessary staff member to help us go through this process. So I just said be prepared for the month of June. We talk about school closure. We definitely have to look at getting rid of some of these policies that's 22, 23 years old, and start to working like board using Neola updated policy. So all of these things can be addressed, but it can't be addressed overnight. I think we did a great job tonight. Let's not end it on a bad note. We got some good things accomplished. Everybody says something really, really great. We do better when we leave our insults out that back door. We get enough of those coming from the audience, but we did a great job. We did something that we have been working on trying to do for the last 2-3 years. So we have a lot to be proud of. 4 people at these workshops. We just need 4. So when we send those out, and they tell us when they're available. So it's Plant Moran, so I'm available this day. We have to try to make it work the best way we can, but we need at least 4, and we can get this done. But can say that it's gonna be 2, 3, or 5, we won't promise people that, because that's a process. And we have to have a hole in school when we close, and that was by the state. We have to have a hole in school. So it's a lot to go in there, and I'm looking forward to this, looking forward to seeing the teacher getting their union, they pay. So I think we done had a great day tonight, and let's end it on a great day. I'm tired of fighting. I want us to win. I didn't get over here to fight. So I appreciate all of you.
Okay, you're after Treasurer Luna.
Yeah, Mr. President, I don't want to fight either, but I do think it's worth the debate. Because, I mean, it's been 5 months for this new board. and this is the first time we've had the school closure discussion on it, and I want to make sure we give it the robust discussion, even before we have the plan to us. And my apologies, I forgot that it was in June, so I get it. But my point is this. We can vote to renovate buildings. We can vote to increase pay. We can do a lot of things. We got to do it at the same time. It's not hard. This is 2, 5, 10, 15 years of inaction when it comes to closing buildings. So let me be 100% clear. My colleague, Trustee King, said that there's districts with roughly the same amount of students, but around 6, 7 school buildings. Well, we have 11 school buildings. We have an admin building that's very big and old, that's full of adults, not scholars. And we have 20 plus vacant properties that we've not chosen to sell or lease to reduce our operational expenses. So our kind of apple-to-apple comparison is a bit more pronounced. It's more like a watermelon to an apple. So I just want to spend some time tonight talking about how we can do this responsibly. It sounds like we have to wait till the consultant gives us a report about how to best move forward, but let's be frank about this. We have to make these hard decisions. I'll be honest, I don't care if Pierce, Eisenhower, whatever school that we have, 11 schools, if they pack this building, I'm gonna vote to close schools because everyone loves their school. Nobody wants to see a school closed that they've worked at, that they've attended, that's in their neighborhood. You know, my neighborhood school, it's burnt down. But that's fine. Actually, 2 are. Washington is, and Johnson pretty much burnt down. And that's okay. But the schools we have now, when we do close them, which we need to, I hope this board can do that, we have to do it responsibly. And when I say responsibly, I say let's be creative with how we close them. If we close a building right now, which we're not going to, according to how the board decided today, and also the report, we can close a school responsibly when it comes to how we reuse it. But let me be clear too, we've passed the point of responsibility when it comes to school closures because this decision should have been made last year. If we close a school in end of June, mid-July, guess what? School's already almost in session. How do we get those scholars to the schools that aren't closed? So guys, I'm speaking to every last one of my colleagues. Let's do the right but hard choices. We're already behind the ball. If we don't do this, we're not gonna have a district in which to pay teachers. These boundaries will be Carmen Ainsworth. There'll be another school district because they can get rid of this district they want to. We need to be fiscally responsible. I'll say it. I ran to be responsible and to make the right choices, but also to work with you all to make the right choices as a body. And that's what I want to do. Let's make the decisions when we can. It should have been last year, it should have been early in this year, but we have to make them. Please hear me when I say that.
Anyone else? I'm sorry, Ms. McIntyre.
So, President Clack to Trustee Luna, I don't know if, and to the superintendent as well. So back in March last year, when we were still under an emergency deficit elimination plan, we had to work on scenarios, and we had 5 scenarios. And forgive me if I can't remember exactly what the detail, it was like close 1 school, close 2 schools, close 3 schools, close 4, right? And then I think we proposed one like close no. I mean, we were looking at options and possibilities because we were under the EDEP and we had to, do one of these scenarios, right? In order to be compliant with what they were requiring us to do. So we had heat maps, I believe, like attendance heat maps. We had maps of the buildings. We were in the administration building. All the maps were up on the wall. We were going through, if we close this school, what's going to happen to these kids? Can we put these kids over here? We were looking at grades, classrooms, just everything, because it is an enormous undertaking. And every time we thought we were getting closer to a solution, it was like, oh, but we can't, the bathrooms aren't going to work for high schoolers, or, this has to be remodeled, or, there was something. But that's the kind of work that we would be doing. And so what I was doing was having a finance committee of the whole meetings where we would be working, it was almost like every week. Or we were trying to do something really intensive, like every week. And I think that that's probably, do you think, Superintendent Jones and Dr. Joyce, if that data's probably out of date, but I mean, we probably could salvage some of it. I know that we've got, some new reports coming, but at least, we could start with that, because we had binders, we had data, and I know, like I said, I know it's not up to date, but we could at least look at the floor plan of what we were looking at and maybe not totally reinvent the wheel.
So, correct in all of those things that we were doing. That is the work that Plant Moran, you're paying Plant Moran to actually do right now. So
But we were working with Plant Moran's data, yeah, right, and so.
We were, but now they're doing the full work that we were sitting around the table trying to do. So they're now doing that work and trying to put that information together. I agree that we are behind the 8 ball, but we've stated this so many times, right? So the best way that we could think to move forward is to come up with a capital plan and a visioning for the next 5 to 10 years, so that when you do make this decision, you're making a decision that can last and can put us in a place where you're making teachers sovereign, you have a certain amount of buildings, and we know what the future of Flint, we can work towards that future. So the best way to do that is to allow Plant Moran Crescent to complete their work and bring that back to you. I will get with Plant, I have a meeting with them, I think in the next couple of days. I can bring that information that I have so far back or email it to you so you can at least know where we are right now.
So, yes.
Okay,
I
wait a
was
minute.
next.
Hold on.
So I just
Ms.
wanted to
McIntyre,
follow up. So
Trustee
yeah,
McIntyre.
like, we're waiting on Plant Moran, and you think it'd be like in a couple days you're gonna meet with them, but maybe we could even have like a tentative schedule to start moving that forward. I mean, I know we're waiting on that information, but maybe we can start thinking about doing that kind of work with that information coming back and kind of.
If you would like, I can have Plant Moran Crescent meet with you, if you would like that, to just let you know where they are and what we've been doing so far, if that will help. And then maybe some of your ideas and some of the things that the board is thinking you want to see, we don't be working from behind, right? We bring you a plan at the end of the month, and then you say, hey, let's do this, this, and that.
I just want to move
So
it back
maybe
forward.
Plant Moran Crescent having an opportunity to come and meet with you would help, and it can speed things up just a little.
Okay, Vice President Joyce.
And you don't have to vote on it, I can just make that happen.
Okay, Vice President Joyce.
Talk in the mic, please.
I want to say that this is going to be really great, because in order for us to start looking for bonds and looking for money and going to other places, one of the things we found out, we have to update our policy, and we don't have a capital gain policy. And because Plant Moran will provide that. So that's one of the responsibilities of the board. In order for us to go to the bank and go anywhere to get bonds and money and stuff, they're gonna look at your policy. So this process here will put us in with a capital gain policy. We adopt that policy as a capital gain. So when I'm gone or somebody else gone, we don't have to be going back what we're doing now. What we're doing is putting a footprint in the sign and begin to move into policy. So we will, Mr. Johnson and I have been talking about that. So that Plant Moran Crescent will be your capital gain policy as well. So this is a good starting point for us. It's taken a lot of work that we have done, but we hadn't made policy out of it. So you go back and somebody says, they might have your seat and say you haven't done nothing. Well, no, because you hadn't taken your everything and put it into a policy and plan. And it's 10 o'clock, but I think we got a lot of work to do, but there's a lot of stuff to be resolved at a workshop where the rules are suspended.
Treasurer Luna.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm happy that we're discussing how to move forward on this, and I think it's good. I think it's long overdue. I won't belabor the point. Happy that most of my colleagues are really diving deep into this discussion for the most part, and we have to do it.
We'll get there. We're gonna get there.
Yep.
We're
Okay.
gonna make it.
All right, so there's no action on 22.9, correct?
Cause we're just discussion.
Right, okay, so moving on. Thank you, Mr. Luna. Remarks from the individual board members. Do any board members have any comments before we adjourn?
Mr. Chair.
Okay, Treasurer Luna was first.
Yeah. I first want to say that in the debate at different points tonight, I did speak over my colleague, Trustee Rutherford, and Trustee McIntosh. I apologize to them for that. That was never right. No matter how passionate you are about the item, you shouldn't talk over them. So I want to make that known. Second, you know, we got a lot of things done tonight, and I'm happy about that. But I just want to be very, very clear. I want the same robustness in some of the items today that were easier, I should say, when it comes to making sure we have a district in 5-10 years that can best serve students, that can attract and retain teachers, and that people want to come to. I think we can do it, but it really takes hard decisions and some courage. It's not easy to vote on certain things, but life isn't easy. We have to make the hard choices, and I'm with that.
Okay, Treasurer King.
Trustee King.
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgive me, Trustee King.
You're right. First, I would like to honor our teachers in National Teacher Appreciation Week. I appreciate all of our teachers. You all are superheroes. I had got a tad bit of experience with substitute teaching and seeing the multiple things teachers have to endure, and also the positive change teachers, make. A couple of my teachers are currently in the district, former teachers, and I appreciate them for instilling in me some good things, planting seeds, good Flint Community School seeds in me. Also, I would like to also highlight, even during the debate discussion we had today, I'm glad that we, most of us had a discussion about the issue and not the person. When we talk about the issue, I can respect you more and not, call you names or, make sly comments. I really appreciate the majority of us kept the, our debate focused on the issue. Also would like to highlight our scholar representative, Mason. He went to nationals for robotics.
Houston.
Houston, yes. And he did a wonderful job there representing Flint Community Schools, which is a wonderful thing. I would like to make sure we all clap for him in doing that. Mr. Mason is a wonderful young man growing up. So, and also I got to see his yearbook what the scholars did. They painted the rock that's right next door.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I forgot
Across the street, the rock.
I want to make sure I put this, cause I told him how to speak about it. Better under pressure. Better under pressure is what they labeled the rock, which is a great thing. It symbolizes a lot. So I want to appreciate our scholars for the good things they do. Thank you.
Anyone else? Trustee Rutherford.
As the teachers told me, they said, if you want to appreciate me, pay me. So I just wanted to say to the teachers, you received payment tonight. I thank you all for what you do, regardless of what. I'm here for you, not in words, but also in deeds. A lot of things that I do, I don't say anything about because it doesn't matter. As long as you all have access to me and you want to ask me a question, I'm available to you. I was voted in this seat to help this district and to stop anything, to help this district, and to stop anything that's going to hurt this district. I'm an elected official. I can take it. I can take the negativity. I can take the narratives. I can take all that because you all voted me here. But what I will not take is for teachers and students to be left on the side. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Secretary Perkins?
I just think it was a very productive meeting today. I thank all of you. We gotta grow in grace and we gotta be unified. And I think we can do it and move the district forward. I'm really hopeful in that. I also want to wish all the ladies in the room a very happy Mother's Day this weekend. That's it.
Okay, Vice President McNeil.
I just want to thank everybody today, and I just want to share good news. We was over at home school this morning. for community family engagement at the library. And for the first time, they had to go look for chairs for the people who participated in the community engagement. They're putting together a parent summit university. We had a great outcome. We had good energy. The community shared a lot of good things. And we hear that General Motors is gonna donate a nice donation for that area for us to do something for the parks and some little work around the schools. So the more we get out into the community, the parent really appreciate the works that the board does. They requested that we come out, and I'm glad that we did come out. They said hello. So, and I want to say Happy Mother's Day to everybody. Go ahead.
Trustee McIntyre?
Yeah, and just piggybacking on that, thank you everybody for coming out. We're seeing more participation with the parent and community meeting today. Like Dr. McNeil said, we had to drag in chairs, and that is so exciting to see. And the parents really, you know, their message is like, we want to be more involved. We want you to listen to us. We want you to hear us, and that's what we're here to do. And you know, we want more input into how to do that, because one of the things that they said that kind of concerned me, and take it with a constructive criticism for us all, is that they didn't know about the community forums, that they didn't know about how to participate. So maybe we can like brainstorm and figure out some other ways of getting, reaching people where they're at, because they're saying they don't go online. So what about all those people? Who don't go online, who don't go to the website. I mean, because that place was packed today, full of parents and, caregivers. And, good food. Yep, there's good food, you guys. So I just wanted to thank everybody, because this is really encouraging to see this level of participation, and thanks for staying so late. Thank you.
Okay, I guess I'll end it. First, I want to say, I would like to, I was going to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers that are in the room and to all the mothers that are watching us online.
Yes.
I also would like to say that we are, can I get you guys to kind of hold it down in the back?
Yes.
Please. We all have different mindsets, but I think our visions are the same. We all want to move the district forward. I would like to say that I'm not perfect and I make mistakes. I do not want to see you all leave. I'm speaking directly to the teachers that are in the back and the teachers in the district. We don't want to see you all leave. I know you guys are sticking with us, and it's rough. We hear the comments. I hear the comments. I don't want you all to leave. We need to keep you all here. Okay, I'm trying to do the best for you all and for the students in the district. So with that being said, I don't want you, I may have made some wrong choices or some bad decisions. I don't want to say bad decisions, because my decisions are pure when I make them. I don't have any malice. I really do want this district to stay the Flint Community Schools. I'm a product of the Flint Community Schools. And I believe we all want that same thing. So I just wanted to let you all know that I have you all here. Some of you I've worked with in some of my years working in the Flint Community Schools. And I have nothing but the highest regards and respect for you all. I work in education as well. I know your sacrifices. I know what you have to go through. I know that we have a district that may be facing some hardships. We have some scholars that face hardships every day. Some of our scholars come to school just to get away from their home life. Mm-hmm. I deal with it every day, just like you do. So I support you. We support you. We're with you. So just if I could ask you just to stick with us for a little bit longer,
yes.
Just give us a little bit
Yes.
more time and be patient
Yes.
with us, because we're trying to do the right by you all and by the scholars. I don't want you all to leave. We don't want you all to leave. We've had 4 major departures over the past couple of weeks, and I really just would like for us to move forward and move up. So thank you again. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. And thank you all. So moving forward, the Board of Education will hold its regular board meeting on Wednesday, May 17th at 6:30 here at Accelerated Learning Academy. Okay, seeing no further business, I declare the Board Committee of the Whole meeting adjourned at 10:12 p.m. Thank you all for coming. Oops.